Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto and Sasuke are killed and the Kyuubi takes them to the past to relive their lives. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. Where am I? Wake up, Baka, spoke a familiar voice. Naruto opened his eyes and sat straight up, taking in his surroundings. He was inside a black area that seemed to stretch forever. About time you woke up, Naruto. Thought for a second you were dead. Naruto turned his head to see a familiar face smiling at him. Naruto nearly tackled him over in excitement. Sasuke, you're alive. Naruto jumped and hugged him, startling the Uchiha. Get off me, Baka, he shouted, trying to shake Naruto off. Naruto finally did, and let go, grinning at him. Anyway, started an irritated Sasuke, I don't know if we're alive or not. There's nothing here but empty space, and I'm wondering if we're like in some dead place or not. Dead place? Are there ghosts? Asked Naruto, who paled. Sasuke sighed, and slapped his hand to his forehead. I doubt it, he said, annoyed. And you're right, boomed a voice. Naruto and Sasuke turned about, totally startled. Their hands instinctively went for their kunai, which they were glad to discover were still there. Their eyes fell upon a miniature version of the Kyuubi which glared up at them. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged a look and broke out laughing, making the Kyuubi growl menacingly. Sasuke soon stopped after, his face bright red. He wasn't supposed to laugh like that. Stop laughing, you know I still have so much energy to kill you pieces of trash 10 times over. Naruto rolled on the floor in hysterics. You're so small, he managed in between bouts of laughter. Shut up, brat, at least, I wasn't the one who got beat by some idiot ninja. Naruto shut up, instantly turning beet red. Yeah, well, maybe if you let me use some more chakra, maybe I wouldn't have gotten so tired so fast. What? Screamed the Kyuubi. You know very well I gave you almost all the chakra I could spare. Naruto looked skeptical, but Sasuke stopped him from making a reply. Anyway, let's stop, this isn't doing us any good. Now, what are you doing here, Kyuubi, and where exactly are we? I thought we were dead? Naruto crossed his arms and looked away, but it was obvious he was interested as well. Kyuubi smiled before answering. We are in kind of a space where time does not exist, and I'll explain that in a second. Now, about you guys dying, it's kind of like this, you're not dead. Both and Naruto's jaws dropped and their eyes nearly popped from their sockets. Kyuubi continued, oblivious to all of this. No, I used up the energy I stored up knowing Naruto would lose to that guy, and used it to keep both of you alive. It's a special jutsu only I can do, but it used up the spared chakra I stored for thousands of years. Naruto and Sasuke both stared at Kyuubi, their eyes full of confusion. What are you talking about? Asked Naruto stupidly. Sasuke sighed, Baka. Kyuubi cursed at Naruto before continuing. Anyway, like I was saying, this special jutsu keeps both of you alive. But the after effects of this jutsu is you have to start over with your life around the age of 12. Roughly about when you guys passed that stupid exam and became what you mortals call genin. Sasuke and Naruto exchanged another look, then looked at Kyuubi. 12 years old, complained Naruto. Damn, I need to kill Itachi all over again, whined Sasuke. Kyuubi twitched slightly, wishing to God he could kill them. Hey, brats. You two should be glad you're not dead. And even if you're not, too bad. I'm not ready to die just yet, I still have to kill you, Naruto. Naruto laughed at this, hee, good luck with that. So, will we retain our powers and techniques if we go back in time? Asked Sasuke. Kyuubi looked uncomfortable. Well, about that, yes, you will be able to retain your memories of this time and all your powers. Awesome, shouted Naruto, punching the empty space. Well, problem is you will not retain your bodies. You will need to train to rebuild your strengths and in theory relearn all your techniques. This is because you old bodies do not know these techniques. Basically, you have the knowledge of doing these techniques, but you need to train your bodies up to it. Remember how long it took you to learn Rasengan, Naruto? Naruto nodded, frowning slightly. He could see the problem now. You mean I have to work hard all over again? Kyuubi was about to retort, but Naruto continued. Fine, I'll do it all over again and become Hokage. And this time I will definitely make sure to protect everyone. Naruto automatically adjusted his Leaf Village headband as he did every time he talked about become Hokage. Then, he flashed them a guy-like smile, but Sasuke and Kyuubi paid that no attention. They were both impressed with Naruto's determination. "Baka," whispered Sasuke, though he felt the motivation to do the same. Kyuubi spoke soon after. "Anyway, luckily for you, I will help you along the way first by teaching you new jutsus. I'll be able to communicate with both of you since I'm literally living off your chakra now due to the fact this jutsu used up all my energy like I said before. I will also link the three of us together so we can mentally talk to each other. I'll be connected to Naruto," repeated Sasuke unbelievingly, though he didn't mind all that much. Don't worry, this isn't yaoi. I have to be connected to Sasuke." "Ah crap," whined Naruto. "Yes," said Kyuubi, who was beginning to get impatient. "And you will both be connected to me, which means if one of us dies we all die, so you will have to work together." "Great," said Sasuke and Naruto simultaneously. They both looked up and instantly looked away, smiling slightly. "So when do we get back?" asked Naruto. Kyuubi appeared to think. "Well, we should be arriving soon." Sasuke nodded and sat to think about how his new life would be like. He would definitely avoid Orochimaru this time. Now that he and Naruto knew how to train, they could relearn their techniques. A whooping Naruto interrupted his thought process. "Hey, Sasuke, this time we should be able to get those bells from Kakashi-sensei." Sasuke looked up surprised, then grinned, imagining his sensei's face when Naruto and him took those bells. Cried Kyuubi, "You guys will have to do a lot of training if you hope to do that. Remember, you need to relearn your techniques and relearn how to move like you can now." "Easy," said Sasuke. "I'll definitely train hard," shouted Naruto proudly. Kyuubi stared at the two somewhat impressed. We'll see," he said with a smile. "Wait, Kyuubi," said Sasuke looking up. Naruto stopped, whooping, and looked towards them too. "What's wrong, Sasuke?" asked Naruto. Kyuubi looked oddly at Sasuke. Was the boy going to say what he thought he was going to say? "No, he can't," thought Kyuubi. Sasuke paused before continuing his question. "Can we tell anyone we know the future?" Kyuubi's sweat dropped, but quickly regained his composure. "Of course not. What do you think would happen if other people knew? They would probably panic and then the future might be terribly changed. Remember, we're only trying to change a few things." To himself, Kyuubi thought, "And you call Naruto a baka?" Sasuke nodded. "I see. Yeah, next time we face that guy we'll definitely win." Sasuke nodded. "Geez, how long is this going to take? We've been sitting here for hours," said Sasuke. "I want to see Sakura," whined Naruto. Kyuubi's sweat dropped and nearly sighed, imagining what Naruto would be like when they got to the past. "We're screwed," he mentally thought. Good thing he wasn't connected to Naruto quite yet. The group remained in an awkward silence after that, each with their own thoughts. Suddenly light broke through the darkness, blinding them all. "We're here," said Kyuubi cheerfully, before he, Sasuke, and Naruto fell unconscious. Naruto woke up and sat up slowly. He shook his head once, twice, and then buried his face in his arms. Taking a few breaths, he stood up finally and went to wash up. He felt odd as he stepped onto the familiar floor. His table seemed to have gotten taller for some reason. He distinctly remembered at least being a head's length above it. Strange. Oh well, time to wash up. Naruto went to the mirror and stared at himself. His eyes nearly popped out at the sight. "Oh my god, I'm short," he shouted. The events in the time, space place came rushing back to Naruto. He remembered everything that had occurred. The red ninja, the talk with Kyuubi, and finally the flash of white light. Okay, I'm sure some of you are wondering why Naruto didn't remember his conversation with Kyuubi. The reason? He was placed into the body of his older self, and the memories came back only after he saw himself short. I wonder if Sasuke and I are really connected, now? Hey, Kyuubi, Sasuke, you there? Naruto waited a moment before he heard a sigh in his head. Naruto, do you always have to be so stupid? Sasuke's annoyed voice sounded lazy and tired to Naruto. Sasuke, you're there. Hey, do you know when in time we are right now? I know we have lots to do, but… Shut up, brat. Kyuubi's commanding voice pounded in Naruto's frail mind, causing him to tip over slightly, as if drunk. Sasuke sighed as if wondering why he had to be connected to an idiot. He then responded to the question saying it was the day they were to pass the genin exams. Which means you two have to do some training. Make sure you're ready for the clone jutsu. I'd also recommend going over that exercise Kakashi showed you guys. You know he won where you were to climb the tree without the use of arms. Once you can do that, I'll show you some interesting things. Maybe if we have time we can review water walking and some of the advanced Junin level jutsu you guys learned. Both Sasuke and Naruto perked up from their respective beds at Kyuubi's mention of interesting things. They were eager to learn, especially since they knew they needed to make some changes this time around. They grinned and then took off from their house. Naruto, meet me at the edge of the western forest. Naruto nodded and took off to meet Sasuke, ready as hell to train. This time, I'll protect everyone, he thought. Quickly you too, muttered Kyuubi. It's already 4 o'clock. You only have 3 hours to train, before you have to get back. Hi, yes, responded both Naruto and Sasuke. 10 minutes later, Sasuke and Naruto both met near the forest edge panting. They had sprinted at least 2 miles in 10 minutes, which they should have been able to do. By the time they reached the forest edge however, both boys were panting out of breath, and low on chakra. They both ate a special pill that restored chakra energy, called a soldier pill. Looks like, we'll have to get used to these new bodies, Baka, said Sasuke between breaths. Yeah, muttered Naruto, who felt his chest searing with pain. Well, get started. I want you to up that tree before any signs of the sun show. Pouting, Naruto nearly threw a tantrum at Kyuubi's harshness, but stopped realizing he had no time to goof off. Sasuke shook his head at Naruto, but he also thought Kyuubi was being harsh. Sasuke and Naruto both nodded, while simultaneously focusing their chakra to their feet. Before it felt natural, now it felt awkward. Taking it slowly, they both stepped onto the tree. Kyuubi was lost for words as his 2 trainees slowly made it up the tree. It was obvious they were trying their hardest, as sweat poured from their bodies, but to make it on the first try was amazing. Unfortunately, 2 seconds later Naruto fell flat on his back while Sasuke landed gracefully. Baka, muttered Sasuke before helping his teammate up. Not bad, you two. Now keep doing it until you can do it without any hesitation or thought. Meanwhile, I'm going to recover some of my strength. Both boys continued up the tree, slowly getting higher and higher. Competing to keep their motivation high, Sasuke soon reached the top a split second before Naruto. Grinning, the Uchiha said, "Ha, beat you Naruto." Naruto folded his arms and his eyes narrowed. It was too close, I think I won, he argued despite knowing he had indeed lost. His eyes had managed to see Sasuke's step beat his. Anyway, this is a small tree, said Naruto, how about that one? An hour later, both Sasuke and Naruto sat at the top of the tallest tree they could find. Both sat and meditated to calm their mind and body. They were taught by a wandering ninja, who noticed that Konoha needed some help. Well, mostly Naruto needed help. Sasuke took the opportunity just for fun, mostly to beat Naruto. Controlling their breaths, they soon regained a small portion of chakra. Eager to learn a new jutsu, they woke up Kyuubi. Hey Kyuubi, wake up. We got the chakra thing, so now you have to show us that new jutsu. Youuuprrrommissed. Sasuke slapped his hand to his forehead as he heard Kyuubi's menacing growls. Naruto, you are such an idiot. Naruto kept screaming until Kyuubi groggily woke up. Sasuke waited for the inevitable explosion of anger. Luckily enough, they found Kyuubi amused instead of angry. Got it already, brats? Fine, show me. Naruto jumped all the way down and excitedly ran all the way up. He did the exercise perfectly, not even having to bend his body. Sasuke did the same, though a bit faster. Kyuubi watched them both from their mind's eyes. Impressive, they have already gained some speed, and their control is already that of a powerful Chunin. Perhaps they can learn this new technique. How's that, Kyuubi? Shouted Naruto, in his head. Kyuubi nodded before speaking back, not bad brats. Fine, I'll show you the new technique. Both Sasuke and Naruto waited eagerly for the new technique. Kyuubi paused for some dramatic effect before continuing. This technique is a powerful jutsu that has never been used before, except by me of course. Unfortunately, boasted Kyuubi, the technique must be a little modified for you mortals to comprehend. Sasuke grunted in annoyance, shaking his fist. Just teach us the damned technique. Fine, but first you need to learn a new hand seal. The fox seal. Pretty easy. An image floated into Naruto's and Sasuke's heads. They both instantaneously placed their fingers together in the right positions. Kyuubi checked quickly to make it was done correctly. Good job, brats. Looks like you two might not be as stupid as I though. What's that? Threatened Naruto. Sasuke backed him up with another fist. Anyway, continued Kyuubi, now I will show you the technique. It's called the Foxfire, a very powerful fire element jutsu. I will show you the hand signs and then we'll see if you two can manage it. You better not overdo it, Mr. I'm going to be Hokage. I still haven't recovered my chakra energies, and if you kill yourself now, well, I'll leave you to figure it out. Naruto had a blank face. He obviously didn't get that Kyuubi was making fun of his stupidity. Okay. Baka, muttered Sasuke. Anyway, here are the hand signs. 5 hand signs appeared in Naruto and Sasuke's mind. They both got serious and began copying them. At the last sign they opened their eyes, yelling, Foxfire. Their bodies glowed with a strange red aura, before it suddenly disappeared. The Kyuubi chuckled in their minds. Not bad, brats. I didn't expect you guys to get it the first try. Keep working at it, but not now. There's something else I want you guys to work on, especially before your Genin exam today. Sasuke and Naruto looked up at each other, sensing the seriousness in Kyuubi's voice. Sasuke, you will work on activating your Sharingan. Sasuke nodded and disappeared in a flash. Kyuubi took note of how well Sasuke was learning. His body was growing at an alarming rate. Taking his attention away from Sasuke, he focused back to Naruto. Naruto, I'm going to grant you a power that is very similar to the Sharingan Eye. You will work this new technique until you master it. The technique allows you to see through any genjutsu, ninjutsu, some forms of taijutsu, and, like the Byakugan, it can see for a long distance. It also heightens your abilities and your senses, giving you, for example, great sense of smell similar to that Inuzuka brat. It's called Fox Eye, stated the Kyuubi proudly. Great name, muttered Naruto. Quiet, brat, and pay attention. Naruto nodded and waited, soon feeling a sharp pain in his eye. He clutched them both and slowly sank onto his knees. Damn, this hurts, he thought. Morning. Sasuke and Naruto both sat in class awaiting the instructions for their final exams. Of course they knew what they were going to be ordered to do and they had practiced, but Sasuke and Kyuubi had convinced Naruto to fail. Flashback. Hey brat. Today at that exam, I want you to fail the test like you did your first time. What? Why? Yelled Naruto. Kyuubi sighed. Brat, do you remember that forbidden scroll with those jutsus you stole that day, with Mizuki's help? Naruto stopped shouting and looked up, his frown slowly turning into a smile. He could see now what was happening. Wait, what scroll? Sasuke asked the question loudly, in his mind obviously irritated that Naruto had an extra advantage over him. It was Konoha's forbidden scroll with lots of secret jutsu. It's where I learned the Kage Bunshin. Sasuke was impressed. Naruto, you'd better show me some of those. Anyway, brat, make sure you look at some more of those jutsu. It definitely couldn't hurt. Plus you'll be able to reveal Mizuki, which you might as well do. Naruto nodded. End flashback. Naruto sighed and watched as Sakura and Ino crawled over Sasuke, while the other students silently panicked over the test. Finally Iruka walked to the front of the class and spoke. About time, thought Naruto. For your final exam, you must each generate at least 1 bunshin. Wait here until your name is called and then come next door. Naruto and Sasuke both silently laughed in their heads. The rest of the students seemed to relax as well. Just a bunshin, one said. Another said, ah, wow, this is going to be easy. All I have to do I fail, perfect, easy, Naruto whispered to himself, gleefully. Don't screw up, Naruto, said the Kyuubi and Sasuke at the same time. Naruto growled at both of them. Sasuke soon left to go take the exam. Moments later he announced he passed to Naruto and Kyuubi. I'm off to work on the Sharingan, the Chidori, and that Foxfire. Alright, my turn is next, said Naruto looking cheerful. He was interrupted by a loud voice. Uzumaki, Naruto. Naruto took a breath and walked to the next room, where the chairs and desks were gone. Iruka and Mizuki sat at the teacher's desk, a dozen or more headbands lying on the table. For a moment, Naruto's hand nearly went to his forehead, but he fought the instinct and tried to keep a worried face. It was difficult when he wasn't actually worried. Naruto, stated Iruka, Please perform the Bunshin no Jutsu. Begin whenever you're ready. Naruto placed his hands together, but purposely messed up his finger placement. This should do it, he thought. Bunshin number Jutsu. A poof of smoke later and body appeared on the ground. Yes, thought Naruto, in his head, though he arranged his face to appear shocked. The clone was dead, looking with rips and tears in the clone. It was also deformed, not to mention gave off a bad odor. Guess I overdid, thought Naruto. Good job brat, looks bad, chuckled the Kyuubi. Meanwhile, Iruka's whole body twitched as he stared at the pitiful clone. Mizuki looked disappointed but hopeful towards the clone. Iruka pointed a finger at the door. You fail, he shouted. Naruto burst into tears, though not ones of sorrow. He ran out of the room, shouting, no. After Naruto was outside, Mizuki turned towards his superior. Master Iruka, this is his third time and he did manage to basically conjure up his other self, even if it was a little flawed. Iruka interrupted, rapidly shaking his hand. The answer is no, Mizuki, he said to his colleague, who looked slightly disappointed. Every student is supposed to generate at least 3 Bunshin. Naruto only made 1 and it was, well, all due respect, his performance doesn't merit a passing grade. Mizuki nodded, knowing he could do nothing about this. However, a devious plan began to hatch in his head. Maybe he could make something out of this. He might as well try it, since he had nothing to lose and everything to gain. Outside, Naruto immediately made for the swing set, where he knew Mizuki would join him soon. While he appeared sad, he engaged in a conversation with Sasuke, who had finally made progress with the Sharingan. So, taunted Sasuke, did you pass, baka? Naruto frowned while Kyuubi and Sasuke laughed in his head. Shut up, Sasuke, maybe I'll just teach myself new techniques and not teach you. Sasuke shut up immediately, no need for that Naruto, come on, I was just joking. Naruto didn't reply as he had heard one of the students nearby. Hey, isn't he the kid who? Yeah, replied another, that him. The only one who failed. The first laughed, imagine if they let someone like him become a shinobi. I mean, think about what he is. The second held up her hand, as if she didn't want to hear it. Don't even go there. The 2 girls walked away, leaving Naruto with some odd thoughts. He wasn't too unhappy. He was quite used to it by now, it was just the fact, he still didn't like it even though he knew what the future held for him. He was interrupted when his new senses pinpointed Mizuki coming towards him. Perfect, he's here. Naruto pretended to be sad, and not to notice, and then took off in the direction towards his house. He knew Mizuki would follow. Eventually, he was stopped. Naruto. Naruto stopped and pretended to jump around in surprise. Mizuki-sensei, he spoke in a surprised tone. Unsuspecting, Mizuki led him to the roof of a house and decided he would talk to him. You know, Naruto, Iruka-sensei is a really serious guy. Did you know his parents died when he was young? So everything he's accomplished he's done by himself, with a lot of heart and discipline. Naruto nearly smiled at the reminder of his sensei's past, but he simply replied with a, what's that got to do with me? So you remind him of himself, said Mizuki, he thinks he's helping you become strong. Naruto, try to give the guy a break, can't you understand where he's coming from? One lonely child to another. But I really wanted to graduate, protested Naruto, who couldn't think of anything else to say. Mizuki sighed, looks like I have no other choice. Let me tell you a secret I've been keeping for a long time. Naruto looked curious, though it was hard when a Kyuubi was telling you good job. Huh? Wind blew softly as the Konoha villagers made their way home. It was dark out and most were unsuspecting of an orange blur. An orange blur named Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto made it quickly to the Hokage's house and slipped in, after using the Shunshin no Jutsu, body flicker technique, to lit past the guards. Unfortunately, his body was still unused to this technique, so Naruto ended up appearing right behind the Chunin guarding the Hokage's gate. Both guards turned but saw nothing. As they turned around, a cloth made to look like the Hokage's house fell and Naruto stepped from behind it. He grinned as he stuck his tongue out at the 2 unsuspecting Chunin. Hee, behold, Kokorimino no Jutsu, cloak of invisibility technique. Baka, keep moving, shouted Kyuubi's voice. Sasuke soon spoke too. Naruto, what did you do now? I thought you were supposed to steal the scroll and learn some jutsu. Shut up Sasuke, I'm going, replied Naruto. Baka, said Kyuubi and Sasuke. Naruto ignored both of them and leapt up to the Hokage's window. Opening it without any sound, he slipped in and tiptoed towards the forbidden seal. With Kyuubi's suggestion, Naruto activated his newly gained Fox Eye. It would warn him if there was any serious threat or danger. Suddenly Naruto's senses went haywire and he tripped in surprise. He had tried to do the Shunshin no Jutsu, but his body was not prepared for the sudden movement. The door opened and the Hokage himself walked in. If the Hokage was surprised, he didn't show it. Instead, he calmly asked Naruto, "Naruto, what are you doing in my house in the middle of the night?" He puffed out some smoke from his cigarette, while Naruto quickly made an excuse. "Hey brat, try Oiroke no Jutsu, Ninja Centerfold, Y technique." "Thanks Kyuubi," thought Naruto before placing his hands together. "Old man, I wanted to show you this Oiroke no Jutsu. Here look." The Hokage's eyes widened and he raised his hands in a motion to stop. "Wait Naruto." It was too late as Naruto yelled, "Henge! Transform!" Instantly he transformed into a nude lady, with hearts flashing in front of Hokage's eyes. Poor Hokage, who was left with a nosebleed on the floor. Naruto grinned and took off, knowing he had to be quick. He reached the shelf containing the forbidden scroll, grabbed it, and then took off into the night. Before he left, he grinned, reminding to thank himself for learning some of the hidden village of mist's jutsus. He used Kiri Gakure no Jutsu, hiding mist technique, to cover his escape. The Chunin guards, the Anbu guards, and Mizuki, who was waiting for Naruto to climb out of a window, were left with a suspicious mist, while Naruto escaped. They promptly went inside the Hokage's house to investigate the sudden mist. Iruka's house. Iruka lay on his bed, thinking about the last conversation he had with the Hokage concerning Naruto. "Iruka," called out the Hokage. "What is it, Lord Hokage?" The Hokage breathed out, before answering, "I know how you feel. You grew up just like Naruto. Without knowing the love of a mother or father, the warmth of a family." Iruka blinked as his memories rushed back to him. Those sad memories the day he lost his parents. Flashback. Left and right, the Kyuubi killed the shinobi of Konoha. Desperate cries sounded as the Kyuubi advanced. "It's getting closer," shouted one. "Don't let it near the village. We must hold on until the fourth gets here," shouted another. Meanwhile, a Chunin carried a young Iruka away from the battlefield. "Let me go," shouted a distraught Iruka. "My mom and dad are still fighting back there." Ah. End flashback. Knock, knock. "Iruka-sensei, wake up," shouted a panicked voice. Iruka forcefully opened his eyes and walked towards the door. Upon opening it, he noticed a frightened Mizuki at the door. What is it? You need to come to Lord Hokage's right away." "It's Naruto," said Mizuki quickly. Iruka looked confused as he mumbled something like, "Naruto, wa?" "He stole the sacred scroll," concluded Mizuki. The truth hit Iruka like a hammer. "You mean he stole the scroll of sealing?" "No. Forest clearing." Naruto approached the cabin he was supposed to meet Mizuki. Quickly unfolding the scroll, he and Kyuubi looked at the other techniques. The two decided to learn these techniques. 1. Mikazuki no Mai, Dance of the Crescent Moon. Doryuheki, Earth Release Wall. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, Earth Release, Double Suicide Decapitation Technique. "Alright, this is sweet," shouted Naruto gleefully. "So many cool jutsu to learn. This shouldn't be too hard," he murmured as he began to study the hand signs. "Hurry, Naruto," came Sasuke's voice. Yeah, Sasuke, shut up so I can learn these quick." "Okay, Naruto, you better remember our promise, though." "Brats, stop chatting and start working," came Kyuubi's voice. Naruto nodded as he practiced the movement for the Dance of Crescent Moon. "So I move like this, and at the same time do this." Hokage's home. A group of angry Chunin stood outside of the Hokage's house. The Lord Hokage stood at the center, while listening to their angry statements. "Lord Hokage," shouted one, "this is not just a prank, this is a serious crime." Another stated, "That scroll contains secrets were sealed away by the first Hokage, secrets known only to our village. Particular emphasis was put on our. If it falls into the wrong hands, it can destroy our way or life." The other Chunin nodded, as Iruka and Mizuki arrived. The Hokage, watching them all, finally came to a decision. "Alright, bring Naruto here at once." The Hokage waved his hand, and every Chunin jumped high and vanished. Iruka decided the first place to look would be the apartment, but looking there he didn't see any sign of Naruto. Where would he go, thought Iruka as he tried to remember all of Naruto's favorite spots and hiding places. Meanwhile, Mizuki ran along the quickest path, to where he told Naruto to meet him. Although he had not seen Naruto steal the scroll, he was sure Naruto would be there by now. He had checked to see if the scroll was gone, along with the other Chunin. In his head he nearly cried out with joy. Now that I told everyone what Naruto did, I can eliminate him. No one will care, and of course I will get the scroll. He smirked at the thought of it. Forest clearing. Hours later, Naruto lay on his back panting. His muscles had been pushed to the max, learning the dance of the crescent moon technique, and the other techniques were no simpler either. With his fox eye he saw Iruka and Mizuki both heading in his direction, so, despite Kyuubi's protests, he consumed another soldier pill. Brat, you were supposed to save those. Who knows when you might need them. Shut up, you stupid old Kyuubi, I was dead tired. And plus I'll need energy to use the Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Especially since your dumb ass can't give me any more energy. Sasuke's voice interrupted them. I see you guys. Iruka-sensei is coming, so you'd better prepare your act, Naruto. He soon left the conversation. Naruto looked around for Sasuke, and could not find him. He was about to move, when a shadow passed over him. Wow, that was fast, thought Naruto. He turned to see Iruka glaring at him. It's all over, Naruto, hee. Naruto stood up, scratching the back of his head. Hee, caught me already, he said to a mildly surprised Iruka. Not, your quick sensei. I only had the time to learn one technique, lied Naruto. Iruka was really surprised this time as he pondered over these words. He's been out here practicing. I can tell how hard he's been working, thought Iruka, as Naruto chuckled to himself. Listen, Iruka-sensei, said Naruto in his best imitation of an excited 12-year-old boy. I'm gonna show you this amazing jutsu, and you're going to let me graduate, then everything will be okay, hee. That's the way it works, right, sensei? Anyone who learns a technique from this scroll, passes. Huh, where'd you get that idea? Asked Iruka, shocked. Naruto waved his arms, like he was annoyed. Mizuki-sensei told me about it, believe it. He told me where to find the scroll, in this place. Naruto stopped, seeing the look on Iruka's face. Perfect, he thought, while putting on a worried face. Mizuki, thought Iruka, who couldn't believe what he was hearing. Suddenly Iruka turned around, hearing the movements of thrown kunai. Naruto, watch out, shouted Iruka, pushing Naruto aside. Naruto pretended to be knocked away and jumped while flying backwards. Meanwhile, Iruka took 5 kunai on various parts of the body. Blood poured out, but it was nothing fatal. I see you found our little hideaway, spoke a voice, while Iruka looked up from his injuries. So that's the way it is. I should have known, Iruka said, hatefully. Mizuki stood on a branch, 2 shuriken tied to his back. His face was an evil, twisted sort of one. He turned to Naruto, and became serious. Naruto, give me the scroll now, he commanded. Naruto looked hesitantly at both of senseis, but he made no move to do anything. Wait a minute, spoke Naruto, acting scared, what's going on here? Iruka pulled out kunai, panting deeply. Naruto, don't let Mizuki get the scroll. It contains forbidden jutsu that can put this village in grave danger. What a baka, spoke Sasuke, who watched in the shadows nearby, undetected. Naruto, you got the scroll. You can easily kill Mizuki, hurry up, so we can show each other our techniques. Shut up, Sasuke, wait a little longer, I don't want to reveal my power just yet, replied Naruto, who began shaking in fright as a response to his situation. Iruka was still speaking. Mizuki used you, Naruto, to get the scroll, for his own power. Mizuki continued to stare, neither confirming nor denying the accusation. Naruto growled, but Mizuki tried another tactic. Naruto, Iruka's just trying to scare you, because he doesn't want you to have the scroll. Naruto pretended to look hurt and stared sadly at Iruka, who was becoming angrier and angrier. Stop lying, Mizuki. Don't let him lie you, Naruto. Naruto looked indecisively between the 2 Chunin, pretending to be unsure of who was telling the truth. Mizuki laughed. Oh, I'll tell you who's really lying. Iruka's eyes widened, realizing what Mizuki meant. No, Mizuki. Unfortunately, Mizuki paid him no attention. They've been lying to you your whole life, Naruto. Since the decree 12 years ago anyway. Huh, what decree? Naruto realized his moment was coming soon, and forcefully held back a smile. Everyone knows except you, said Mizuki with a smile. Iruka's trying to hide it from you even now. He'd do anything to shut me up. Naruto looked on with a mixture of curiosity and terror. What is this decree? Why does everyone else know about it? Iruka nearly screamed at the top of his lungs, don't tell him, it's forbidden. Mizuki smiled evilly. The decree is, no one can tell you the nine-tailed fox is inside you. Stupid brat, we already knew that. What's next? Asked the Kyuubi sarcastically. Naruto nearly burst out laughing but covered it with a loud, what? The fox's spirit, the one who killed Iruka's parents, the one that nearly destroyed our village has taken over your body. You are the nine-tailed fox, concluded Mizuki. Naruto gasped in horror, while Iruka shouted, stop it. They've been lying to you your whole life, Naruto. Didn't you think it was strange how they treated you? Like dirt, like they hated you for just being alive. No, shouted Naruto, no, no, no. That's why you'll never be accepted in this village. Even your beloved sensei hates your guts, stated Mizuki. Iruka looked on horror, Naruto, no. Die. Naruto, shouted Mizuki, twirling his shuriken. In his haste, Naruto forgot about the situation and tripped over a rock. Oh, whoops, thought Naruto, just as Mizuki threw the shuriken. Naruto, get down, shouted Iruka, who dashed to help. Iruka stood over Naruto to take the hit, saving Naruto just in time. Mizuki looked on in mixed anger, surprise as Iruka took the hit. Why, muttered Naruto. Be because we are the same, said Iruka, who was crying. When I lost my parents, I was just like you. I wanted attention, someone to care so badly. So I became the class clown, did outrageous things, just to get attention. It was hard, and I know how you feel, Naruto, you feel lonely and it hurts inside. And I could have been there for you more. I let you down, Naruto, I'm sorry. No one should ever suffer that much, no one should ever be alone. Naruto was nearly in tears himself, he had forgotten this from his memories, and hearing Iruka's words made him feel sad all over again. Meanwhile, a crazed Mizuki was laughing crazily from his branch. Don't make me laugh. Iruka always hated you. He was orphaned because the nine-tailed fox killed his parents. And that beast is now inside you. He'd say anything to get the scroll from you. Naruto felt anger building up inside of him. Sasuke and Kyuubi, both connected to him, tried to stop him. Naruto, stop, don't let his talk anger you. Finish him now, before you lose control of yourself. Naruto quickly made a decision and took off running, using the Shunshin technique. Luckily, Iruka and Mizuki, unfocused, did not see his jutsu, but they were impressed with his speed. Naruto, shouted Iruka, who worried for his student. Mizuki landed and laughed. You know, once he makes up his mind, nothing can change it. He's going to use the scroll to take revenge on the village, taunted Mizuki. You saw that look in your eye, didn't you? Those were the eyes of a beast, stated Mizuki, while Iruka pulled out the shuriken. No, whispered Iruka, Naruto isn't like that, he shouted, before flinging the shuriken. Mizuki easily dodged and the shuriken landed on a tree, now useless. You're a joke. As soon as I eliminate Naruto, and take the scroll, I'll be back for you. Mizuki soon took off, leaving behind Iruka, who still held many injuries. I won't let you, Iruka whispered in response. Hokage's house. Sarutobi, the Sandame or third Hokage, stared into his crystal ball. Something was very wrong, he noticed. Despite Mizuki's words, Naruto was appearing to be deep in thought. He wasn't even sad, not the least worried. No, something is definitely not right here. Is that even Naruto? Forest. Naruto frantically jumped from tree branch to tree branch when a voice interrupted him. Iruka appeared from the tree nearby, jumping along with him. Naruto. Everything Mizuki said was a lie. Give me the scroll, hurry, shouted Iruka. He's coming for you to take it away, he shouted just as Naruto stopped. Surprised, Iruka was unprepared as Naruto slammed into him. He shouted, flying at least 20 feet away. He landed near a tree, panting. Naruto landed on his feet, panting as well. It can't be, stated Iruka, softly. Naruto took the scroll off his back and slumped down against a tree. Meanwhile, Iruka struggled to stand. How did you know, Naruto? How did you know, stated Mizuki, who replaced Iruka in a poof of smoke. That was me and not Iruka? Naruto laughed before answering. Like Mizuki, Naruto was replaced by a grinning Iruka, who had used a log to replace the scroll. Because, I'm Iruka. Mizuki stood up, and grinned evilly, like the crazy guy he was. HMPH, you fool. Why are you protecting that freak? He's the one that wiped out your family. Meanwhile, Naruto and Sasuke watched from some distance above. Naruto, shouldn't you be helping Iruka right about now? Whispered Sasuke. Shut up, they'll hear us, whispered Naruto back. I don't care, replied Iruka back, and just so you know, you're not getting your hands on that scroll. As if you can stop me, replied Mizuki, skeptically. Don't you get it, Iruka? Naruto is just like me. How's that? Asked Iruka. He, replied Mizuki, wants the scroll for his own power and vengeance. That's how beasts are. He'll pour all his rage into the scroll and destroy everything. Up above, Sasuke and Naruto had their mouths hanging open. Is this guy some nutcase or something? Asked Kyuubi. This baka gives new meaning to the word baka, retorted Sasuke. Naruto laughed silently. Don't worry, I'll take care of him soon. Just wait until he attack Iruka-sensei. It'll look better for me. And you call me a show-off, grunted Sasuke, looking away. Naruto grinned. Back below, Iruka suddenly agreed with Mizuki. You're right, beasts are like that. But that's not what Naruto is. He's nothing like that. Naruto's one of a kind, works hard and puts his whole heart into it. Sure, he messes up sometimes, and everyone jumps on him, but his suffering only makes him stronger. That's what separates him from a beast. So you're wrong, he's nothing like the nine-tailed fox. He's Naruto Uzumaki, of Konohagakure, the village hidden in the leaves, kind of a formal name. Ah, Iruka-sensei loves me, shouted Naruto gleefully. I repeat, this is not yaoi. Shut up, baka, and why don't you move away and give me some space, replied Sasuke. Naruto grunted and then jumped below to set himself to attack Mizuki. As expected, neither Iruka nor Mizuki noticed him. Mizuki's eyes twitched as he grabbed his shuriken. You really believe that, fool? HMPH, I was going to save you or later, but now I changed my mind. You're finished, shouted Mizuki, who promptly threw the shuriken. So this is it, thought Iruka. About time to have some fun, thought Naruto, rushing out. Naruto easily caught the shuriken and thrust a knee into Mizuki's stomach. He remembered he was supposed to be angry, and masked his face. Iruka's eyes widened as he saw Naruto. Naruto stood while setting down the scroll. Mizuki stood as well, wiping away some blood. Not bad, for a punk. With a death look on his face, Naruto muttered, "Don't you ever lay a hand on my sensei. I'll kill you." "Such big words," answered Mizuki. "I can completely destroy you with a single move." Naruto glared him down, while doing the hand sign for Kage Bunshin. "Take your best shot, fool. I'll give it back to you 1,000-fold." Mizuki charged, appearing more evil than ever. "Let's see what you can do, nine-tailed fox." While Iruka looked on in surprise, Naruto shouted, "Taju! Kage Bunshin no Jutsu! Mass Shadow Clone Technique!" 100 or so Narutos appeared in the small clearing, practically filling it up whole. They surrounded Mizuki not just on the sides but above as well. The technique forced Sasuke to move out of the way, before becoming overcome by a bunch of Naruto clones. Mizuki stopped in great surprise and horror. Meanwhile, Sasuke and Kyuubi nodded impressively at the number of shadow clones. Iruka pondered over this new development. "Naruto, those aren't just an illusion, they're solid clones. Amazing, he's mastered an extremely advanced jutsu." Mizuki turned about, confused. He did not have any idea what technique was being used against him. Hell, he didn't even think it was possible. These thoughts just made him more unfocused and horrified. The clone's shouts of, "Over," and, "Hey you," didn't help as he randomly talked to himself. What is this? What is this jutsu? He fell down on his back, terrified, and unable to move. There were too many clones, he definitely was not expecting this. The clones, who were beginning to get restless, laughed amongst themselves and charged. Time to use an interesting attack, thought Naruto. The clones leapt up shouting, "Uzumaki, Naruto, Renden." Naruto Uzumaki combo. All the Narutos rushed in with their fist out. Their contact sent Mizuki flying where the real Naruto waited. A kick and a crash later, and Mizuki was out cold. Iruka watched the whole thing impressed. Not only had Naruto mastered an extremely advanced jutsu, but he had come up with his own move, in such a short amount of time. "Baka, you overdid it," said Sasuke, before he took off to get some rest. Meanwhile, Naruto turned back to Iruka, laughing slightly. At his feet lay Mizuki, whose face was distorted. "Hee, looks like I overdid it. Hey, you okay Iruka-sensei?" Yeah, I'm okay. Naruto Uzumaki, your dream was always to become Hokage, no better than all the Hokages, and I'm starting to believe he can. Ah, hey Naruto, come here. There's something I want to give you." The Hokage's house. The group of Chunin searching for Naruto were all gathered by the Hokage's house. They were all frustrated seeing as they couldn't find Naruto. Their apparent superior shouted, "Are you telling me no one can find Naruto?" "Nope, not me. This is bad," stated another. "Damn, that Naruto, where could he be?" asked another frustrated Chunin. They were interrupted by the Hokage himself. "Don't worry. The scroll is safe now. Naruto will be back soon." All the Chunin looked at each other with deaths in their eyes. If what the Hokage said was true, Naruto would have a lot of explaining to do. Back in the forest. "Can I open my eyes now, sensei?" asked Naruto in a whiny tone of voice. "Okay," said Iruka, "you can open your eyes now." Naruto opened them as sunlight came into his eyes. For a moment, Naruto was blinded, but slowly his vision came back. Iruka stood, smiling in front of him. "Congratulations," said Iruka showing Naruto his old goggles, "you graduate." "And to celebrate," said Iruka closing his eyes, "I have a surprise. We're going out for ramen tonight." He waited for the Naruto response he always got, but when he didn't receive it he opened his eyes. A shocked Naruto stood in front of him, mouth hanging open. "Hun?" Naruto's mouth twitched, nearly forming a smile, before he hugged and tackled his sensei over. "Iruka-sensei," he shouted to his laughing sensei. "Ow, that hurts," stated Iruka, who still had his injuries from Mizuki. As Naruto toyed with his headband, Iruka stared. "Naruto, now that you're a ninja, the road only gets tougher. But if I told you that, it would ruin the moment. So, I'll tell you later, over ramen," he thought with a smile. In the middle of a forest, a tree suddenly crashed down, from a mighty kick. 12-year-old Naruto Uzumaki stood on top of it grinning, while his sparring partner Sasuke Uchiha landed in front. The two had been practicing taijutsu, even since Kyuubi had pointed out to them, unkindly, that they were weak in hand-to-hand combat. And so they began practicing moves copied from Rock Lee. Sasuke had learned Konoha Senpu, Konoha Hurricane, Konoha Reppu, Leaf Gale, Konoha Daizenpu, Leaf Great Whirlwind, and Kage Buyo, Shadow of the Dancing Leaf. These techniques were then shown to Naruto, who was beginning to get the hang of them. "My turn," said Naruto, who leapt under Sasuke. Sasuke looked down below, just as Naruto shouted, "Konoha Senpu." His kick sent Sasuke flying forwards, and immediately Sasuke knew Naruto would follow up with a combo. Naruto didn't fail his expectations as he jumped right behind Sasuke for Kage Buyo. Sasuke realized he would be finished if he didn't do something, so he tried to turn and kick just as Naruto came to grab his torso. Naruto missed the grab entirely, and landed with a curse. Behind him, Sasuke shouted, "Konoha Reppu." Naruto jumped up at the last second, avoiding the sweep, but was knocked backwards by the wind. Sasuke tried to follow up with a combo, but Naruto disappeared within an orange-blue and appeared some 10 feet away. "Damn, you Naruto. I nearly had you that time," said Sasuke, who panted to refill his lungs with air. "Huh? Too slow, Sasuke. They didn't teach me the Shunshin no Jutsu for nothing." Naruto grinned as usual. "Hey, brats, you think you got the techniques down?" Kyuubi's voice sounded impatient and annoyed. One could tell he was waiting for them to do something else. Yeah, we got them down perfectly," shouted Naruto. "Can we take these weights off now?" Weights. Both Naruto and Sasuke were required by Kyuubi to wear them. They were to wear at least 200 pounds each every day, no exceptions. Both genin were slowly getting stronger and faster, but the weights were taking their toll. Sasuke, although he would never admit, was getting more and more tired each day with the weights on, while Naruto complained about it non-stop. Both could use a break, considering they wore more than they should have been. No brats. Both Sasuke and Naruto shuddered. And if you ask me one more time, I'll add another 50 pounds to it. Now, if you'll listen, I want you both to practice the Mikazuki no Mai, and then practice your teamwork on a cage bunshin. You still both are too predictable in your movements. If you're even dreaming of taking one bell from Kakashi, I suggest you work harder. Oh, and I almost forgot. Both Sasuke and Naruto stared at each other, wondering what else Kyuubi could add to their list of exercises. Today, when you will meet Sakura for the first time, act as you normally would. I have a bad feeling that the Hokage is, well, he is suspicious of something. You two are supposed to be total opposites, huge rivals. For now, let's keep it that way. That won't be too hard, said Sasuke and Naruto at the same time. Both grunted and looked away. Kyuubi sighed in their heads. Alright, brats, you guys worked hard enough today. Go home, take a nap, and then get your butts over to the academy. Hi, answered Sasuke and Naruto, running home as fast as they could. The next day, birds chirped as the sun slowly rose to signal a new day. It was quiet in the village, but it was soon about to get busy. Very busy. Today was the day a select few would become genin. A sleepy Naruto sat up in bed, feeling the sores and aches of training. His legs were tired from yesterday night's taijutsu practice, and his arms felt like dead weights. To top it all off, he was still wearing 200 pounds worth off arm and leg weights. He felt like sleeping it all away, and he would have had not Kyuubi screamed in his ear. Brat, wake up, you need to get ready. Today's the day we've been training for. It'd look real nice if you were late. Naruto couldn't help but hear the sarcasm in Kyuubi's tone as he sat up, yawned, and stretched his arms. Alright already, I'm up. Geez, you sound like Sasuke almost. Naruto do this, Naruto do that. What's that, Naruto? Asked an irritated Sasuke. Naruto quickly mumbled something before saying he'll see Sasuke at school. Baka. Naruto shook his head and stood up. He nearly fell down, forgetting about the weight. Damn it, Kyuubi. Making me carry all this. What, you want more? That shut Naruto up, as he summoned his chakra to help him carry the weight jacket. Hurry up and eat, brat, then get going. Naruto ignored Kyuubi as he opened the fridge and grabbed his milk and some cereal ramen. Sitting down, he said to himself, today's the day, well, time to eat. Slurping down his ramen and some of his milk, which tasted a little weird, Naruto picked up his head protector and ran out the door. Forgetting all about his weights, he walked down the street grinning, like he was a superior. He noticed a bulge in the wooden fence along the way to the academy. If Naruto was right, and he was sure he was, it was him. Sighing, Naruto continued on, as if oblivious to the bulge, when it suddenly moved and a figure leapt out. You're mine, Naruto. The figure, a small boy, stepped forward, but tripped on his piece of cloth. Naruto resisted the urge to laugh. Instead he asked, what do you think you're doing, Konohamaru? Konohamaru remained face down on the ground as he answered, that was a slick move, Naruto. That's why I respect you as my eternal rival. Konohamaru stood, looking somewhat disappointed. Naruto looked to the side, somewhat annoyed, but I didn't do anything, he replied. Konohamaru totally ignored the statement and stood up, making a hand sign. Alright then, fight me fair and square. He was about to do a super wicked transformation jutsu. Well, it was super wicked to him, when Naruto scratched his head. Sorry, replied Naruto, I've got an orientation, too bad. Orientation? Naruto grinned, that's right, you see, as of today, I'm a ninja. Believe it, bragged Naruto. Konohamaru gaped at him, mouth wide open, staring at the headband on Naruto's forehead. Whoa! Naruto laughed before waving goodbye and continuing along. Somewhere else, a young pink-haired girl stood in front of a mirror, slowly fixing her hair. She was getting ready for the orientation today at the academy for graduates. Humming, she played with her new Konoha headband and winked at herself. She was interrupted by her mother, who yelled, Sakura, isn't time for you to be going. Irritated, Sakura turned towards the door. I know, I'm on my way out now, she replied, coldly. Cha, how long are you going to treat me like a kid? I'm a ninja now. Shouted inner Sakura. Sakura left the house soon after, slowly walking towards the academy. She couldn't help but feel anger at her mother and father for treating her like a kid. So, I'm not a little academy student anymore. Raising a fist she thought, Sakura Haruno, Kunoichi in training. Sakura couldn't help but grin at the thought of it. She was a ninja now, she wasn't a little girl any longer. Cha! Shouted inner Sakura, with thumbs up. Not too much later, Sakura heard a voice, see you later. She stopped as a somewhat pretty blonde stepped out. The girl was her height, and like her had a ninja forehead protector. The girl turned in her direction, revealing her long-hated rival, Ino. The girl frowned slightly, before grinning maliciously. Good morning Sakura, she greeted, somewhat unkindly. Good morning, Ino, said Sakura, as she put on her best, I don't like you, face. She walked with her rival towards the academy in a somewhat awkward silence. Ino decided to break it with an insult. So, they actually let you graduate, Sakura? What a surprise. Sakura resisted the urge to shout. Those classes are ancient history now, she told a surprised Ino. We're both ninja now, continued Sakura, I won't lose to you anymore. To prove her point, Sakura walked faster ahead of Ino. Irritated, Ino walked faster than Sakura, getting ahead. Sakura noticed this, and with some effort pulled ahead again. Both girls continued in this fashion until they were nearly jogging, shoulder to shoulder, furiously grunted at each other. The academy. Good job brat, came Kyuubi's voice. Naruto looked confused, what is it? Sasuke's voice soon interrupted, Baka, we thought you'd never make it. Naruto shut them out and turned away from Sasuke, who he sat next to. He noticed a familiar face nearly pass him by. The other boy, noticing Naruto stopped, somewhat annoyed. Hey, what are you doing here, Naruto? This class isn't for dropouts. You can't be here unless you graduate. Naruto smiled, oh yeah? He pointed to his forehead protector, you see this? Open your eyes, Shikamaru, this is a regulation headband. Which means I graduated. So that means we'll be training together. How do you like that? Shikamaru eyed Naruto down before shrugging, Come on Shikamaru, we both know it, said Naruto bragging again. This headgear was made for me. Sasuke couldn't help but stifle a laugh in the corner, just audible enough for Naruto to hear. Replied Shikamaru, as he walked away. Meanwhile, a young girl, with pale eyes and a brown coat, eyed Naruto. She was smiling. Naruto, you graduated after all, I'm glad, she thought, with a blush. Of course Naruto missed this. Suddenly the door burst open, and two angry girls stood in the doorway. Sasuke's eyes shifted to the right, and a small smile danced on his lips. Naruto smiled, not yet ready to turn. It was her, finally. His heart pounded much faster than usual, and his breathing became faster. He remembered the last time he saw her. Shaking out the bad memories, he slowly began to turn. He blushed seeing the pink-haired girl. She was younger, but it was only natural. Naruto was 12 too now. Sakura, he thought to himself. I know you all voted for Naruto Hinata. Don't worry, it'll head in that direction soon. So, Naruto, thinking about Sakura? Naruto turned right away, glaring at Sasuke. How about you Sasuke? Sasuke turned red, and shut up, while Kyuubi mentally slapped them for arguing. Both girls were panting out loud, red in the face, and glaring daggers at each other. I'm first, they both yelled, when they could speak. Ino turned to Sakura, with a grin, I win again Sakura. Sakura grinned evilly, give it up, I had to look back to see you. My toe was at least a tenth ahead of yours. Ino blew off the idea, Sakura, are you always this delusional? Sakura looked away, and soon saw Sasuke. Hey, oh. She ran off immediately, with Ino, raising a hand after her. Hey, where you going? Naruto heard footsteps and saw a smiling Sakura rushing towards him. Oh, hi, Sakura, he shouted standing up. Sakura shoved him aside, yelling, move it. She then clasped her hands together and stood smiling at Sasuke, who made no move. Damn it, Naruto, tell her to move, and sit down somewhere else or something. Why? Sasuke, embarrassed, teased Naruto. In his seat, Sasuke clenched his teeth, though he made no move. Looked like he would have to put up with Sakura again. Good morning Sasuke, greeted the pink-haired Kunoichi. Sasuke sighed, and was about to turn when he noticed all the girls moving over. Oh damn, hey Naruto, Kyuubi, do something. Naruto slinked away, unnoticed, leaving Sasuke to silently fume. Sasuke gave up and turned slightly towards Sakura, though he remained silent. Sasuke. Mind if I sit next to you? Sasuke was beginning to feel slightly uncomfortable. He liked Sakura sort of, knowing the type of person she would turn out to be, but right now there were too many girls to deal with. He soon saw Ino approach, looking angry and irritated. Back off forehead, I'm sitting next to Sasuke. Ino grabbed Sakura's arm. I was here first, protested Sakura. Ino got red, but soon replied, well, I got into the classroom first. Everybody saw it. Sasuke silently sulked as he sat there. Naruto was standing nearby taunting him and Kyuubi was laughing, very un-Kyuubi-like. I'm gonna kill you both in your sleep, thought Sasuke, revengefully. Hee, replied Naruto, laughing out loud. Meanwhile, more girls were surrounding Sasuke, all disagreeing with each other. No, I was first, you all came in after me. Well, replied a fat girl, Sasuke likes me best, you girls can just go away. Sasuke turned green at the thought of it, and so did many of the others. They pushed her away and then turned smiling towards Sasuke. Let me sit next to you, said Ino, smiling. No, shouted Sakura, I'm sitting next to Sasuke. No, I am, shouted the fat girl. Stupid, murmured Sasuke, inaudibly. Hokage's house. The Hokage's crystal ball stayed focused on Sasuke, who had folded his arms and closed his eyes. A group of Junin stood around it murmuring to each other. One spoke, upon seeing Sasuke, most promising new student, Sasuke Uchiha. Is that him? Yes, that's him, replied the Hokage. The other Junin murmured to each other. Kurenai looked at Sasuke saying, he's the only survivor of the Uchiha clan. That's right, replied the Hokage. Meanwhile, a silver-haired Junin looked away from Sasuke toward an orange-clad boy, who sat watching a crowd of girls. Guess who? This particular Junin noticed that Naruto was smiling, something not often seen of the boy when in the academy. Naruto, Uzumaki, him. Back at the academy, Naruto, finally having enough fun, leapt onto the table in front of Sasuke. Both genin glared at each other. Alright, Sasuke, how about a fight to get them away, right here? Fine with me, Baka. Watch out brats, too late, hee, came Kyuubi's voice. As Naruto processed Kyuubi's words, the kid in back of him suddenly bumped into him, sending him forward. The girls stopped chattering immediately seeing the new developments. What the, murmured Sakura. Said Ino, shocked. Sasuke and Naruto kissed. Both boys pulled apart, clutching their throats and spitting out, frantically. Naruto, you stupid baka. I swear I'm going to kill you. Wait, Sasuke, it was an accident. Why the heck would I want to kiss you, Besides, you told me to do something about them. Oh, and your breath stinks, yuck. Naruto. Kyuubi laughed hysterically in their heads, enraging them even further. But their anger was nothing compared to the girls. Sakura nearly fell over at the sight while inner Sakura shouted, Cha. This is outrageous. I was supposed to be Sasuke's first kiss. Naruto will pay for this, Cha. Naruto continued to choke, when once again his senses went haywire. He didn't even bother look up. Oh damn, he muttered. Naruto, you are so dead, said Sakura, calmly. She and the other girls charged, while Naruto made a break for it. Sasuke couldn't help but laugh in his head, as he was mobbed and beat up to a pulp. Sometime later, Iruka stood in front of his class, proudly. As of today, we are all ninjas. To get here, you faced difficult hardships and trials. I'll say, whispered Naruto to himself. He still held massive bruises from earlier. Iruka continued, those hardships were nothing compared to what you have to do now. The tasks will be far more difficult despite the fact you are only genin, first-level ninjas. And so, each genin will be grouped into squads of 3. Each squad will be led by an elite Junin. Sasuke, Naruto, and the others all looked up in surprise. 3-man squads, they all asked surprised. Sakura waited for Iruka to clarify when Ino spoke behind her. Well, someone has to be in Sasuke's group. I wonder who? Sakura twitched slightly as she turned. I don't know, she replied innocently. Inner Sakura had something different to say. Cha, I'm gonna be with Sasuke. So stay away from him, you hag. As Sasuke and Naruto silently shared laughs about old times, Iruka continued. Each team will have a set of strengths and weaknesses. He waved a paper, so that's how we set them up. Fox Eye, whispered Naruto. He looked at the squad's list. Team 7. Haruno, Sakura. Uzumaki, Naruto. Uchiha Sasuke. HMPH, hey, it's the same teams as before. How lucky. Sasuke smiled again. So, he said to himself, let's see how you react when you meet us, Kakashi. So, I will now announce the teams, stated Iruka. After 6 teams were announced, Iruka got to Team 7. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto looked up. This was it. Sakura Haruno. While Sakura sulked, Sasuke and Naruto both exchanged a glance. And Sasuke Uchiha. Sakura jumped with joy and immediately turned to Ino. Too bad, Ino. Ino glared back. UGHHH, how did you get in his group? While Sakura grinned ear to ear, Team 8 was announced. Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Shino Aburame. Hinata was disappointed as she stared at the back of Naruto's head. Oh, I won't be with Naruto then. Meanwhile, Shikamaru stared at Ino. I don't get it, what do you see in a guy like him? He's not so special. Ino glared at him. You are so beyond, clueless Shikamaru. Don't you get it, she yelled. Shikamaru stared right back. No, I don't get it, 'cause I'm not a girl, he said. Ino looked away, smiling. You're so full of yourself. Jealousy is a terrible thing. I'd hate to beat on your team. Right away, Iruka announced the last team. Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara. Ino looked up shocked. Shikamaru taunted her. Huh, did you say something about hating to be on my squad? Ino glared daggers at him. And, concluded Iruka, Choji Akamichi. Choji paid no attention as he stuffed chips into his mouth. Ino, on the other hand, slumped in her seat, hating herself and her life. Not him too, she thought. Those are all the squads, finished Iruka cheerfully. Anyway, you're dismissed for lunch. You will meet your Junin squad leaders afterwards. Until then, class dismissed. As students poured out talking to each other, Sasuke and Naruto walked out as instructed by Kyuubi. Sasuke was going out to practice the new Earth-style jutsus, while Naruto would distract Sakura. Sasuke figured the first thing she would do was look for him. Alright, Sasuke, but remember, you have to teach me another fire jutsu tomorrow. Sasuke waved and disappeared. Outside the academy, Sakura looked around calling for Sasuke. She wondered, why did Sasuke have to go running off so fast? Since we were in the same group together, I thought we could have lunch together and get to know each other. Hey, Sakura, called out Naruto. Sakura turned to see Naruto coming her way. Since we're in the same group together, I thought maybe we could have lunch and get to know each other. Sakura looked terrified at the idea. Why would I want to have lunch with you? Huh? Naruto was a little surprised at first, but he remembered that day. He let the feeling of jealousy pass up. Well, since we were in the same group, he stopped seeing Sakura's face. Naruto, you're annoying. She left him, while he sighed. As Sakura wandered off, Naruto schemed of ways to get Sakura to like him. He had one immediately. Grinning he said, Henge. Transform. The park. Sakura sat alone in the park, absent-mindedly picking at her food. Well, it's not like there's a rush or anything. I'll be in the same group as Sasuke for a long time. Sakura thought about herself and then sadly thought, but still. How can I ever dream he'd like me? I'm scrawny and small, except for my forehead. Why was I born with a big wide forehead, she complained. Sakura suddenly realized someone was watching her. Looking up, she saw Sasuke standing by a tree, staring at her. Oh, Sasuke, he's looking right at me. She blushed. Sakura had an image of the two of them kissing, but the thought of it turned her back to reality. Grow up, Sakura, she thought to herself sadly, it's just a fairy tale. And fairy tales don't come true. Hey, Sakura. Sakura looked up, surprised to see Sasuke walking towards her. Hey, I have a question, he said as he sat down next to her. Sakura blushed, but she nodded for him to continue. What do you think of Naruto? Sakura's blush died away as she thought about Naruto the baka. Naruto knows about my feelings, and he purposely tries to get in the way. He enjoys interfering and making me feel bad. Naruto, he doesn't understand one thing about me. He's just annoying. All I want is for you to accept me, Sasuke. That's all. Sasuke's eyes widened as he processed the information. You just want me to accept you? Sakura nodded as she blushed and crept closer, leaning in for a kiss. I see, I think I understand why I like Sakura so much now, and wait, what is this feeling in my stomach, though Sasuke, who is really Naruto, before taking off. Sakura opened her eyes and saw Sasuke rushing off. Wait, Sasuke. I'll be right back, shouted Sasuke. Sakura sat on the bench, thinking, wow, I didn't know Sasuke was so shy. Maybe he needs time to get ready. Sasuke ran off and ducked into his apartment and his bathroom, just as he transformed back into Naruto. Phew. Damn, I was just about to kiss her too. Oh well, that plan ended up badly. I think I'll go train now. Meanwhile, the real Sasuke walked towards Sakura, whom upon seeing him, jumped with joy. Oh, Sasuke, you're back. Are you ready now, you bad boy? I mean mentally? Sasuke stared at her. Where's Naruto at? I can't seem to find him. Naruto isn't replying telepathically. Sakura laughed. Oh, there you go again, changing the subject. Anyway, Naruto just picks fights with you. You know why? It's probably because he wasn't raised right. He has no parents, no one to teach him right from wrong. Think about it, he just does whatever comes into his head. He's selfish, a big brat, and just plain annoying. He's all alone. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. He couldn't believe Sakura would say that about his best friend. Alone, huh? Sakura nodded, glad to hear an agreement. Isolated. Huh? Asked Sakura. I wonder, Sakura, do you know what it's like to be alone? Always by yourself, no one to talk to. No parents or siblings to care and love you. And even worse, hated by everyone in a village. Shunned for something you have no control over. Do you understand that feeling? Sasuke, why are you saying that? Whimpered Sakura. If you don't, then you have no idea how Naruto feels, and in that case, you have no idea how I feel. And yet, you claim you love me. Well, if you really do, then perhaps you can treat your teammate with something other than hate and irritation. He already gets enough of that. What? Asked Sakura, shocked. You're annoying, said Sasuke slowly before disappearing. The words hit Sakura like a smack in the face. Naruto left the bathroom and ran smack into Sasuke. Oh, there you are, Baka. Oh hi, Sasuke, said Naruto uncomfortably. Loser, why didn't you answer me when I called for you? Bathroom, muttered Naruto. Sasuke's sweat dropped. Fine, whatever. Let's finish the fire jutsu practice. There's only one more technique. Sakura. Alone. Sakura sat on the bench pondering Sasuke's words. I'm annoying? That's what he said, Now I get it. This must be how Naruto feels. I shouldn't be so mean to him. Okay, next time I see him, I'm going to be nice. Sakura soon got her opportunity as she spotted Sasuke and Naruto walking over. Taking her chance, she jumped up. Hey, Sasuke, Naruto, do you two want to eat lunch with me before we go back? Smile, she thought to herself. Sasuke and Naruto stared at each other. What's gotten into her suddenly, they both asked. Fine, you can eat lunch, replied Kyuubi. Naruto and Sasuke wandered over when Naruto suddenly doubled over. Bathroom, he cried, running off. Sasuke sighed, what a loser, before disappearing. Sakura dropped her hand. Naruto, ooh. Hours later. He's late, said Naruto, clenching his teeth. The three genin were the only three left. Sasuke sat on a bench, while Sakura silently fumed about their teacher. Meanwhile, Naruto stood by the door grunting and groaning. Eventually Sakura couldn't stand it anymore. Naruto, sit down. Naruto glared at her. I don't want to. How come our teacher is the only one that's late? All the other teams have already met their senseis. I'm ready to roll, believe it. Sakura sighed inwardly. Was Naruto always this dumb? We know, Naruto, just sit down. Sasuke suddenly stood. Sasuke? Sasuke stood by Naruto whispering something. Both boys grinned and went over to the other side of the room setting up strings and a kunai. What are you two doing? Asked Sakura, shocked. Setting up a trap for our teacher. He deserves it, replied Naruto. Sakura sat back, not wanting to disturb Sasuke's work. However, she was wondering why he was working so well with Naruto. She thought. Maybe he's trying to be nice. Sasuke and Naruto did a technique that camouflaged the kunai so it wouldn't be seen. They set the strings so when a person came through the door the kunai would fly at them. In the case Kakashi didn't react to the knife, it was designed to stop at a certain point. To finish the trap, Naruto set a chalkboard eraser in between the door and the doorway. As he finished, they could all hear footsteps in the corridor. "Here we go," whispered Naruto, with glee. Sakura folded her arms. "You're asking for trouble. You know you shouldn't do this stuff." "Cha, I love this stuff." 3 seconds later and a hand appeared in the doorway. Both Sasuke and Naruto grinned. To Naruto, it felt like forever before the door finally opened and a spiky, silver-haired man poked his head through. A grayish mask covered his face, while his Konoha headband was slanted covering an eye. He wore the vest of the elite Junin. The chalkboard eraser fell and landed on his head with a thud. There was an awkward silence as the four surveyed each other. Ha 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 ha, laughed Naruto pointing at Kakashi. "I got him, he totally fell for it, ehehehe." Sakura looked up in embarrassment, clasping her hands together. "I'm sorry, sensei. I told him not to hit it, but he didn't listen. I'd never do anything like that." In her head, inner Sakura had her thumbs up, perfect shot. Sasuke slapped his hand to his forehead. "I can't believe he fell for it again." Kakashi walked further into the door, and the three genin watched in silence. Well, they watched his foot, which promptly stepped right over the hidden string that would trigger the kunai trap. Sasuke and Naruto gave each other blank stares. "Damn it, Naruto, I told you to place the string a little higher." "Whatever, Sasuke, he just got lucky. And besides, I put 2 strings down, he must have known it was there." "Bakas," muttered Kyuubi. "I told you it was a silly idea." Meanwhile, Kakashi picked up the eraser and kicked the string, triggering the kunai trap. As Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto watched sadly, the kunai flew harmlessly into the now closed door. How should I put this?" Naruto and Sasuke's eyes narrowed as they looked away from their sensei. They knew what was coming. "My first impression of this group, you're a bunch of idiots." Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura all sweat dropped. They looked down, away from Kakashi and at their feet, embarrassed. "Well, that was just my first impression. How about we go to the roof and talk things over?" Kakashi walked out, and coughed as he stepped over the hidden second string. Naruto felt his sensei's sarcasm in the cough. "Damn, that was too easy for him. I wonder how he knew," asked Naruto. "Bakas, I told you, even though he let himself be hit by that eraser, he is a Junin. I'm sure he knew the string was there, well before he took his step into the room. And, plus, you brats are still inexperienced." "What are you talking about? We are both Anbu members," stated Sasuke. Naruto nodded. Yeah, what he said." "Baka," said Kyuubi and Sasuke with a sigh. "The roof. Alright then," began Kakashi, who sat on the railing. "Why don't you introduce yourselves, one at a time?" "Introduce ourselves?" asked Sakura. Well, what are we supposed to say?" Kakashi shrugged. "Well, things you like, things you hate. Dreams for the future, hobbies, things like that," he finished crossing his arms. "How about you start first, sensei, I mean we hardly know you." "Me?" asked Kakashi, pointing to himself. He was mildly surprised. "Okay then, my name is Hitaki Kakashi. Things I like and things I hate, well, I don't feel like telling you that." Sakura looked up in surprise, while Sasuke and Naruto exchanged a small look. Both snickered to themselves. Kakashi continued with his introduction. "Let's see, my dreams for the future, never really thought about it. And my hobbies, well, I have lots of hobbies." Sakura's eyes dropped. "Well, that was pointless," she whispered. "All he really told us was his name." Naruto nodded. "Okay, your turn," said Kakashi. "You on the right, you first." "Believe it, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I like instant ramen in a cup, and I really like the noodles Iruka got me at the Ichiraku noodle shop. I hate the 3 minutes you have to wait after you pour the boiling water into the cup." "Geez," murmured Kakashi, "does this kid think about anything else besides ramen?" "My hobbies? Well, mostly my hobbies are trying out different kinds of ramen and training to be a better shinobi. And my goal for the future, to become the best Hokage in Konoha. And then, the whole village will stop disrespecting me and start treating me like I'm somebody." Kakashi's eyebrows went up for a second. Well, he's grown up in a very interesting way. "Alright, next." Sakura smiled happily as she spoke. "I'm Sakura Haruno. What I like, I mean the person I like," she said while blushing the whole time, is." Sakura paused to stare at Sasuke, who paid her no attention, though he silently yelled at Naruto for no reason. Well, my hobbies are… She paused again to look at Sasuke. My dream for the future, Her squeal this time was the loudest as her blush deepened and she squirmed in her seat. Kakashi's sweat dropped. It seems young girls these days care more about boys than ninjutsu, he thought with a sigh. Okay, and what do you hate? Sakura looked up, her blush gone. Naruto, she yelled. Naruto fell down in his seat, fuming. ACK, he thought. Kakashi frowned slightly. Okay, and you last, Kakashi said, indicating towards Sasuke. Sasuke looked up and took in his sensei. HMPH, stupid sensei, he thought. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate a lot of things, and I don't particularly like anything. Sakura looked down at this particular statement. I have no dreams, that's just a word, continued Sasuke, coldly. Instead, I have two goals. The first is to restore my clan. And the second? Kakashi straightened slightly, thinking about Itachi Uchiha. He assumed Sasuke would talk about him. I will train until I defeat my eternal rival, a guy the first consider almost to be my brother. Kakashi really straightened this time. He did not know Sasuke had anyone who was close to him, and assuming from his words he had an idea who this close person may be. Sakura on the other hand had her mouth wide open, bursting with ideas. Sasuke is so hot. Maybe she could use this mysterious person to get Sasuke to like her. Hey, Sasuke, didn't know you and I were that close, joked Naruto. Sasuke froze and slowly turned to Naruto with a death glare. Brat, I didn't know you were gay. Crap, I have a gay host. I'm not gay, shouted Naruto. Kakashi, who stood up and said, well, good, interrupted him. You're each unique, and you have your own ideas. We'll have our first mission tomorrow. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged a glance. What kind of mission, sensei? Asked Naruto. Well, it's a task that the four of us will do together. What will we do? Asked Sasuke. Kakashi paused before answering. A survival exercise, he answered vaguely. Naruto and Sasuke pretended to act surprised. What, a survival exercise? Complained Naruto. Sakura agreed with him for the first time. I thought we were supposed to have a mission, not more practice stuff. We already did this at the academy, that's how we got here. This isn't like your previous training, said Kakashi. What kind of training is it then? Questioned Naruto. Kakashi began to laugh softly. I hate it when he does that, said Naruto. Haha, brat, stated Kyuubi. You guys are both bakas, stated Sasuke. Shut up, said Kyuubi and Naruto at the same time. Sasuke laughed silently at them, while remaining in his Sasuke position, as Naruto called it. Meanwhile, Sakura, who was surprised by Kakashi, asked, wait, that was a normal question. Why are you laughing? Hee hee. Well, if I tell you the answer, you're not going to like it, hee hee hee. Wah, wondered Naruto. A shadow grew over Kakashi's face. Alright, I'll tell you. Of the 27 graduates, who actually made it here, only 9 will be accepted as genin. The other 18 will be weeded out and sent back to the academy. In other words, this is a make it or break it pass-fail test. And the chance you'll fail is at least 66%. Sakura jumped in surprise, while Naruto and Sasuke silently reminisced about old times. Wow, Sasuke, he sounds tougher than last time. He's saying the exact same thing. Brats, stop. Kakashi is looking suspiciously at you too, interrupted Kyuubi. The two instantly stopped their conversation and tried to appear mildly annoyed. Kakashi seemed to buy their act, for he said, see, didn't I tell you that you wouldn't like it? It's crazy, believe it, shouted Naruto. Kakashi's eyes narrowed slightly. I agree, interrupted Sakura, we worked hard to get here. What's the point of the graduation test if we have to go through this? Kakashi nodded his head. Good question. That test was just to select the few who had the potential to become genin. Or not, said Kakashi as an afterthought. How lame, spoke Sasuke for the first time since his small introduction. Yeah, believe it. Too bad, said Kakashi, that's just the way it is. I decide whether you pass or fail. Be at the designated training spot at 5 AM. Bring your ninja gear. What a guy, mumbled Naruto. Kakashi is starting to get on my nerves, said Sasuke, twitching slightly. Brats, what are you complaining about? This should be easy, considering you know what to do. It's Plan C, right? Yeah, replied Naruto and Sasuke. A.N. Plan C will be explained later. Meanwhile, Sakura trembled in small fear. If I fail, I'll be separated from Sasuke. I can't fail, this is a trial of love. Anyway, continued Kakashi, you're dismissed. Oh, and tomorrow you'd better skip breakfast, or you'll puke. He then jumped lazily to another roof nearby. I'm definitely going to have to disobey that rule, stated Naruto. No, brat, you will do exactly as he says. No food for you unless you get a bell. Same goes for you, Sasuke, said Kyuubi. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. You've just become number 1 on my death list. I'd love to see you try, brat, replied Kyuubi. Sasuke growled, realizing he could do nothing before leaving the group. Naruto left next, leaving Sakura by herself. Oh, Sasuke's run off again, she thought, sadly. Next morning, the sun slowly began to rise in the east, signaling the arrival of dawn. A lone girl stood by 3 posts, staring at her watch. She was waiting for her teammates and her sensei, Kakashi. They were all supposed to be there already, it was already well after 5. And she was starting to get pissed. If this is a guy thing, she thought. She didn't have to finish her thought as Sasuke and Naruto appeared out of the trees nearby. Her first yell was, Sasuke, you're here. She then noticed he was with Naruto and the two seemed to be engaged in a heated argument. When she got close enough to hear, she heard Naruto say, well, maybe if you taught me better, it would be easier too. Naruto stopped seeing Sakura. He turned deep red. Sasuke noticed too and mentally thought, oh damn. Good luck getting out of this one, brats, snickered Kyuubi. Sasuke cleared his throat as Sakura looked at them suspiciously. Hey, Sakura, Naruto was being stupid, you want to take a walk? All suspicions gone, Sakura jumped up and down, dragging Sasuke back towards the bushes. Of course, Sasuke, I mean since Kakashi isn't here yet, he. The Uchiha instantly regretted his choice. He turned to Naruto for help as he was marched away. Naruto couldn't help but wave sadly to infuriate him. Meanwhile, Naruto was left alone. He sat down and rested on the grass while staring into the sky. My second chance, and this time I can show Kakashi-sensei just how great I am. I wonder what he'll think when he sees me take a bell. Hey brat, you might be a decent host after all. Of course, what do you expect? Well, then, I'll look forward to seeing you fight Kakashi. Oh, and to start, you have to wear the weights. Damn, fox, muttered Naruto. I heard that, brat. Naruto laughed and promptly fell asleep. He dreamed about sitting on top of a surprised Kakashi with both bells in his hand. 2 hours later, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stood together as they watched their sensei get closer. Naruto had woken up 30 minutes ago, and Sasuke had run out of the forest soon after, blushing like crazy, with an ecstatic Sakura chasing after him. All 3 stared angrily at their sensei when he was in earshot. Morning, everyone, ready for your first day? You're late, shouted Naruto and Sakura. Kakashi shrugged. Well, you see, there was this black cat that blocked my path. So I had to take the long way around, he said cheerfully. Naruto nearly broke out laughing. He had forgotten how insanely dumb his sensei's excuses were. He and Sasuke satisfied themselves with a smirk, while Sakura shouted, liar. Ignoring her, Kakashi walked towards a tree stump. Well, then, let's get started. The 3 genin watched carefully as Kakashi set down a timer. Here we go. It's set for noon, he said while pressing down the button. Kakashi then turned back holding out 2 silver bells. Your assignment is simple, you just have to take these bells from me. That's all there is to it. Kakashi jingled them as if taunting the 3 genin. If you can't get them by noon, you go without lunch. You'll be tied to those 3 posts, and watch while I eat my lunch in front of you. Naruto couldn't help but growl at this statement. So that's why he told us not to eat breakfast, just to make it harder on us. Murmured a sad Sakura. She suddenly noticed something. Wait a minute, there's 3 of us. How comes there's only 2 bells? Kakashi grinned under his mask and chuckled. Well, that way, one of you will end up tied to the post and ultimately failing to complete the mission. Kakashi jingled the bells again. That one goes back to the academy. Sasuke and Naruto exchanged irritated looks. They wanted to have started hours ago. Kakashi was only infuriating them with his talks. Luckily for them, Kakashi thought they were irritated with the assignment, not him. Well, before you get too worried, all 3 of you could flunk out too. Anyway, you can use any weapon, including shuriken. If you're not prepared to kill me, you won't take the bells. Kakashi caught the bells with a satisfying jingle and tied them to his belt. Wait a minute, isn't that dangerous? Asked Sakura. Those weapons can be deadly, sensei, she protested. Haha, yeah, especially since he couldn't dodge an eraser, laughed Naruto. Kakashi calmly turned. You know, class clowns are usually the weakest link. You can safely ignore them, low scores, pretty much losers. Naruto stopped laughing while Sakura snickered, and Sasuke grinned. Loser, he said. That's why you keep your mouth shut, brat, added Kyuubi. Whatever, said Naruto, looking away. Now, when I say go, you can begin. Naruto took his opportunity to start the plan. He quickly dodged, rolled and drew a kunai, purposefully twirling it. He then charged, yelling, but Kakashi got behind him. Wow, that was fast, thought Naruto. Kakashi sighed, don't be in such a hurry, I didn't say go yet. As Naruto moaned in fury, Sakura backed away. Whoa, he's so fast, I didn't even see him move. Naruto, Kyuubi, was that Shunshin no jutsu? No clue, said Kyuubi cheerfully. Might be, but we'll see, you guys find some good spots to hide, I'll get both bells. We'll see, said Sasuke. Kakashi continued speaking, however, you did charge at me with the full intention of destroying me, so, how can I say this? I'm actually starting to like you guys. All three genin grinned. Get ready then. And, start. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura all leapt away out of sight, while Kakashi closed his eyes to give them a hiding advantage. This will be fun, he thought. Hokage's house. Iruka and the Hokage quietly sat at a table. They both drank tea and looked at each other, both wishing the other would start the conversation. Iruka, began the Hokage, what did you wish to see me about? I don't think you came to visit just to drink tea and chat. Is it Naruto? Iruka folded his hands together across his chest. Yes, it is about Naruto, he said before pausing. Well, Naruto has been assigned to Squad 7. The Junin assigned to his squad, just how tough a trainer is he? Kakashi, you mean? You are concerned about, the Hokage stated. Iruka nodded, I am. I heard a rumor about his training methods. The Hokage rummaged through his cloak and brought out a book. He handed it to Iruka, who asked, what's this? Iruka was certain a shadow passed over the Hokage's eyes, but it was brief. This book contains all the trainees Kakashi has ever had, those who failed and those who passed. Iruka took the book, his fingers trembling. Opening it, he stared at the logs and accounts. His eyes widened after a moment or two. No, this is, training ground. Kakashi stood alone on the training grounds, a flat surface that extended north to west. To the east there was a large river, and to the west, woods, that grew parallel to the flat ground. He was apparently alone. Ninja must conceal their movements and hide effectively. Well, at least they understand that. They are hidden well, thought Kakashi, rubbing his neck. He suddenly detected a presence. It was Naruto, whom he guessed decided to go one-to-one instead of hiding. Meanwhile, Sasuke and Sakura carefully hid in the bushes watching the scene that was about to unfold. Alright, Baka, try not to screw up, said Sasuke. It's ready. Sasuke, don't ready. Everything is going according to plan, so far. Naruto shut them up and then turned all his focus to Kakashi. Hey, sensei, you and me right now. Fair and square, let's go. Kakashi's sweat dropped. You know, compared to the others, you're a little weird. Sensei, the only thing weird here is your haircut. Besides, you really shouldn't underestimate me, it could prove bad for you, said Naruto, suddenly charging. Kakashi easily read Naruto's movements and sighed inwardly. He reached into his bag, noting how fast he had to resort to this. Naruto stopped, and inwardly grinned. Shinobi Battle Techniques, Part 1. Taijutsu, the physical art. Grumbled Naruto. Kakashi soon pulled out his famous book, Icha Tactics. Come Paradise, perverted book. Naruto almost snickered. What the? Kakashi stood there, reading, make your move, what are you waiting for? Why are you reading that book, sensei? Asked Naruto, stalling. His plan was almost ready. Why? Repeated Kakashi. Well, to find out what happens in the story, of course. Don't let it bother you, with your weak attacks, it doesn't matter if I'm reading or, whatever. Well, sensei, you're going to find out that you just made a bad mistake. And since we're on the subject of taijutsu, Naruto stopped with a smile. Kakashi didn't look up, but he carefully watched Naruto's movements, knowing that something was up. He was mildly surprised when Naruto disappeared. Huh, is he going to hide now? He was interrupted by Konoha Senpu. What? Whispered Kakashi. He looked down as Naruto's swift kick knocked him into the air. His book flew out of his hand, and Naruto appeared behind him, using Kage Buyo. Where did Naruto learn that? Naruto grabbed Kakashi and forcefully threw him onto the ground. Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke as a log appeared in the ground. Wow, that was a fast replacement jutsu, thought Naruto, who had seen it just a second too late. Damn it, Naruto, you messed up. I know, Sasuke, but I almost got it, give me another go. Let him, Sasuke, said Kyuubi, one more try Naruto. Meanwhile, Sakura stared impressed at Naruto's abilities. He had managed to knock Kakashi into the air with a blindingly fast jutsu. From a tree branch, Kakashi panted as he touched the area where he had been hit. He wasn't expecting Naruto to be so strong. He had deliberately made himself look weak to lower my expectations, thought Kakashi. Kakashi peered out and saw Naruto looking back and forth. He soon saw an opening. Naruto saw Kakashi in his branch but decided to play weak again. He looked around aimlessly and soon found himself trapped. Now, he thought. Kakashi did a hand sign that looked suspiciously to Sakura like the tiger sign. Watch out Naruto, behind you. Get out of there. Naruto turned, but Kakashi said, too late, Naruto, you really should watch out behind you. Konoha's secret technique. Senin Garashi. 1,000 years of death. Kakashi poked his fingers sending Naruto high into the air. He smiled as he watched it head towards the river. As he turned he heard a poof. That meant one thing. Oh no, it was a clone. Kakashi turned and saw the real Naruto doing fast hand signs. Doden. Yomi Numa. Swamp of the underworld. Immediately, the area Kakashi stood in turned into a slippery swampy terrain area. What? But that's an erranked jutsu. No way Naruto could do that, even if he was taught. He can't possibly have the chakra. Kakashi had no time to think as Naruto charged. What a kid. Kakashi jumped, nearly tripping and quickly did his replacement jutsu. He was impressed when he saw Naruto break the Konoha Reppu to trip the clone Kakashi. He then followed and grabbed the fake Kakashi. Incredible, even the boy's strategy is flawless. Could this be Sasuke's doing? But even so, while Kakashi pondered Naruto's strength, Sakura had dreams about Sasuke. I never knew Sasuke knew so many cool jutsu. And so nice, he even taught them to Naruto, she said to herself, remembering their argument in the morning. Naruto dispelled his jutsu and all the clones disappeared. The Kakashi clone also disappeared seeing as Kakashi had transformed one of Naruto's clones to look like himself. Come out, sensei, I thought we were fighting one-on-one. Naruto stopped. Oh, damn. Senin Garashi. This time, Naruto really did go flying into the lake. He landed with a satisfying splash to Kakashi. Great, said Kakashi pulling out his book. Now, where was I? 2 shuriken flew out of the water, which he easily caught. Looks like Naruto is losing focus, noted Kakashi to himself. That had to hurt, said Sakura to herself, but he's a Junin, we can't possibly match his strength. Kyuubi, Naruto is getting careless. Can I try now? Fine, brat, Naruto you hear? Whatever, just give me one more punch, and I swear I'll screw up or something. Sasuke sighed. Whatever, he thought. Hokage and Iruka. This can't be. This is worse than the rumors, exclaimed Iruka. The Hokage sighed. Kakashi's test may be a bit more difficult than the others. A bit more difficult, asked Iruka, skeptically. Not a single student has ever passed his test. That's true, replied the Hokage. They all tried, but none of them could live up to Kakashi's standards. So they were all eliminated. Training field. Naruto crawled out of the river panting for breath. Kakashi stood some feet away, reading. He could tell Naruto was no longer a threat. What are you doing now, Naruto? You know you need a bell by noon, so you'd better hurry. I know, you told us that already. Kakashi eyed Naruto and decided to taunt him. You know, you look kind of wobbly for a guy who wants to become Hokage. Well, whose fault is that? You told us not to eat breakfast, so how can I fight when I'm starving to death? Sasuke's sweat dropped. This Baka was wasting his time. Sasuke then felt his stomach grumble. Then again, I'm hungry too. It was even worse for Sakura. Forget this, I didn't even have dinner last night. A really bad idea to go on a diet, she mumbled. Naruto stared after his retreating sensei and made a last-ditch effort. Here I come, sensei. I will get that bell and become a ninja. Let me show you one of my favorite jutsus. Kakashi turned as 7 shadow clones leapt from the water after him. He smiled. Cage Bunshin, one of the legendary sealed techniques. I heard he defeated Mizuki with it. Meanwhile, Sakura stared in amazement at the clones. Those are real, not illusions. Real. 7 real clones, that's amazing, Naruto, she thought to herself. Impressive jutsu, Naruto, but you won't be able to beat me with it. Kakashi drew some kunai and made to throw them, when he felt hands from behind him. Huh, what? A Naruto had snuck around the him, grabbed him from behind. Didn't you say not to let your opponent get behind you, sensei? Good advice. The lead Naruto leapt and threw a punch at a wide-eyed Kakashi, while the other clones immobilized Kakashi's arms and legs. The blow was solid and Kakashi went flying. But it wasn't Kakashi, it was a Naruto clone. Naruto landed nearby, furious with himself. Damn it, I was too slow to prevent that from happening. Kawarimi number jutsu, whispered Sakura. Replacement. Naruto dispelled the jutsu and then sat down, exhausted. An amused Kakashi watched behind a tree and decided to play his little trick. A shiny light caught Naruto's eye and, a bell. He saw it, right there under the tree. Naruto, oblivious to all traps dove for it. He dropped a bell, chanted Naruto, happily. Baka no. Wait, Naruto, shouted both the Kyuubi and Sasuke. It was too late. Naruto was trapped and hung upside down by a rope. Ah, he shouted. Got ya, whispered Kakashi. Finally, it's my move, said Sasuke, with a grin. Kakashi-sensei. Part 2. Sasuke's shot. Hey, let me down, yelled Naruto. I can't believe you fell for that, Baka. And a guy like you was in Anbu. Don't you remember the last time you fell for it? Asked Sasuke, shaking his head. Brat, I can't believe I ended up with you as a host. It's not my fault. Kakashi-sensei tricked me. Naruto could hear Sasuke and Kyuubi's laughs. They thought his foolishness was funny. Fine, Sasuke. Let's see if you do any better. Of course, Baka. I for one don't let down my guard, ever. Yeah, okay, brag all you want, Sasuke, you'll see, thought Naruto. He saw Kakashi approach him, undoubtedly ready to taunt him more. Kakashi lazily picked up the bell underneath Naruto. Naruto, please think before you use a jutsu. Otherwise it can be used against you. Oh, yes, one more thing, said Kakashi, smiling. If the bait is obvious, don't take it. As Naruto silently fumed, Kakashi continued. A ninja must see through hidden meanings. I know, sensei, said Naruto, annoyed. Well, I'm telling you because you don't get it. You think you get it, but that's not the same as actually getting it. Get it? Won't you ever learn, Naruto? Naruto suddenly grinned, and this above all other jutsus scared Kakashi. Don't drop your guard, sensei. Before Kakashi could even turn, even make a move, a dozen kunai slammed into him, throwing him off to a side. Sakura gaped. Huh, oh no, sensei. Kakashi's form seemed to fall toward the ground in slow motion as all 3 genin watched. Before it quite touched the ground, however, poof. Thought Sasuke, as he suddenly vanished from his branch. Naruto, get ready now. Right, I'm there, replied Naruto. As Sasuke ran, he heard Naruto's voice in his head. Too easy, believe it. Brat, looks like you did it. Alright, Sasuke, let's see how much your training paid off. Gotta move now, said Sasuke, to himself. Kakashi watched him from the bushes. Ah, so that's where he is. Kakashi soon looked to the side. He mentally sighed. I guess I'll take care of her first. Sakura was running very swiftly in the direction she saw Sasuke running in. Sasuke, she wondered, where did you go? Don't tell me Kakashi-sensei found you, she thought, with horror. She shook away the thoughts. No, he can't capture my Sasuke, I won't let him, she thought with determination. She suddenly saw Kakashi reading his Icha book from just beyond a clump of bushes. Crouching low, she thought, phew, he didn't hear me. I'm safe, she thought with some satisfaction. Psst, Sakura. Behind you. Sakura felt it instead of saw it, Kakashi looming over her right shoulder. Huh? She turned slowly and saw Kakashi calmly looking at her. Her eyes widened in awe. Meanwhile, the Naruto hung by the tree disappeared in a poof of smoke. The real Naruto grinned. Their plan was almost complete, they just needed a couple more things. It was then, Naruto heard Sakura's scream. Sakura, wait, Baka, I'll check it out. You continue along with the plan. All right, Sasuke, replied Naruto. Sakura leapt into an open field facing her sensei. She felt ready for any move that Kakashi might pull. She was not ready as a sudden swarm of leaves surrounded her. She suddenly felt herself slipping out of focus, and then, it was dark. Huh, where am I? Sasuke, where are you? Sakura clasped her hands together and began to panic. I'm sure I felt something, and then Kakashi-sensei was gone. A rustle in the bushes told her someone was nearby. Sakura, spoke a familiar voice. Sasuke, shouted Sakura turning. Her eyes widened. Sasuke was on the ground, with blood everywhere. He had been punctured in many areas with kunai and he looked desperate. Sakura, help me. Please help me. To Sakura, Sasuke's injuries looked real. Her eyes misted. No. No, Sasuke, she shouted, shaking her head. Sasuke suddenly collapsed over, unmoving. Sakura closed her eyes and gave her loudest scream yet. She then fainted. Kakashi looked over his book, while the whole scene occurred before his eyes. I think I might have overdid it a bit. But, she's got to learn to see through these things. Kakashi detected Sasuke standing behind him. Sasuke stared at Sakura and shook his head, saying, I see, sensei, you got her with that. Shinobi battle skill 2. Genjutsu, or the illusion jutsu, said Kakashi. Sakura learned about genjutsu at the academy, but couldn't stop it when it was used. Well, began Sasuke, I'm not surprised you got Sakura with that. But then, you should know, I'm not like either Sakura or Naruto. When it comes to Naruto, he has determination and skills, and a dream that pushes him to be strong. Sakura, she has book smarts, she can devise strategies and is naturally a better chakra controller than both Naruto and I and me. I'm the one that can use the strategies, and to deadly effect. Kakashi leaned lazily against a tree. Say, that after you get one of these bells, my Sasuke. You fool, thought Sasuke, to himself. Kakashi stood up and walked over standing some 10 yards away from Sasuke. The two stood in a silence, Kakashi reading his book, while Sasuke looked for the right moment to attack. He apparently found it and threw 3 shuriken. Kakashi easily dodged, saying irritably, come now, Sasuke, normal attacks won't work against me. Sasuke smirked and threw a 4th shuriken. Kakashi landed and soon heard a rope cut. A trap? He jumped again, dodging a set of kunai that had materialized out of nowhere. They passed him harmlessly and landed in a he skidded along the ground from his jump. Sasuke materialized behind him. What? He blocked a hard, right, roundhouse kick. Sasuke jumped back and then went low, Konoha Reppu. Kakashi jumped, but was forcefully knocked back by the gush of wind. Kakashi raised a hand just in time to block a straight punch, but looking down he saw Sasuke, who reached to touch a bell. He pushed himself away, just in time. This kid, he's good and he's fierce, thought Kakashi. Dang, I won't be able to make out paradise now. Sasuke grimaced as he panted. Dang it, even with my superior speed, he's still faster, he thought. Of course, brat, I told you he was an elite, a Chunin, not a Naruto. I heard that, interrupted Naruto. Kyuubi ignored him. And you're an Anbu member stuck in the body of a 12-year-old. You're really setting your standards too high. You can't win like this. Shut up, damned fox, we already agreed on this plan, so let's finish it. Naruto's voice interrupted the exchange again. Did I miss something? Shut up Baka, stated the two in sync. Naruto turned red with annoyance and stopped talking. Sasuke turned his attention back to Kakashi, who was waiting for him to make a move. Sakura woke up and found herself in a darkened part of the woods, in an awkward position. She quickly covered up her legs with her skirt, and looked around. She remembered what happened. She fainted. The blood, it was everywhere. She had to find Sasuke. She immediately took off running. Sasuke, I saw him. He was on the verge of, no. He can't be. Sasuke, you must be alive? Where are you? Naruto. Naruto snuck over to the memorial of fallen ninjas. He grinned as he saw 2 boxes neatly wrapped. I know what these are, boxed lunches, he yelled with joy. Don't, Naruto, warned Kyuubi, don't you even dare. Naruto frowned. Ah, this sucks. Can you two keep it quiet? It's hard enough fighting Kakashi without noise, interrupted a frustrated Sasuke. Kakashi cautiously stood in front of Sasuke, ready to make a move. Well, you are different from the other two, I'll grant you that. Watch this, Kakashi. Sasuke did a series of fast hand signs. He stopped and called out, horse. He made a different sign and shouted, tiger. Sasuke leaned back and breathed in, shouting, Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu. Fire style. Fireball Jutsu. Kakashi looked up in surprise. Can this get any worse? First Naruto, and now Sasuke? Genin aren't supposed to be able to do fire jutsu, takes way too much chakra. He can't possibly. Kakashi was proved around as Sasuke blew out a fine stream of fire that spread in a huge sphere. The fire burned brightly and only died when Sasuke ran out of breath. Kakashi was gone in a poof of smoke. Sasuke realized it had been a clone. He pretended to look around in surprise. Where is he? Where? Came a voice. Sasuke felt a hand on his leg. Right here, where you least expect me, beneath you. Kakashi pulled downwards and Sasuke yelled in surprise. Kakashi went topside and looked at Sasuke, who was almost entirely underground save for his head. He was stuck. Doden. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, headhunter technique. Kakashi winked. Can't move, can you? That was ninjutsu, the third shinobi battle skill. You have talent, like I said earlier, you're different, but sometimes different isn't good. You know, they say the nail that sticks up is the one that gets hammered down. Whipping out his book, Kakashi turned when he heard a poof of smoke. Then looks like I'll have to hammer you down, sensei, said a voice beneath him. A clone? It can't be, gasped Kakashi as he heard, Konoha Senpu. Kakashi was knocked upwards by a crazy fast kick, faster than Naruto. He could hear Sasuke's words from below. Here we go, sensei, futon. Daitopa. Wind style. Great breakthrough. Sasuke blew out a gust of wind that sent Kakashi flying. It was a weakened attack, Kakashi could tell, but it still made him dizzy. He landed with a slam on the ground, and promptly disappeared in a poof of smoke. The real Kakashi panted as he hid, slumped over. That technique, it's not taught here in Konohagakure, where did he learn it? If I'm correct, that was technique familiar with the Sand Ninja. Both of these kids, they both know very advanced jutsu. Sakura is the only one who hasn't been able to keep up. This is unexpected. I'll have to gauge their true strengths later. I don't think they're fighting as hard as they can right now. Kakashi stood and did a quick jutsu in preparation for round 2 with Sasuke. Now, he would have to rely on tactics. Jumping out, he surprised Sasuke with a hard kick. Sasuke blocked and leapt back. He's fighting more aggressively now. Time to try a new move. As Kakashi charged, Sasuke did 3 quick hand signs. Doden. Doryu Taiga. Earth style. Moving land river. A massive amount of mud spewed from the ground and stopped a surprised Kakashi and sent him backwards. Next, combo, shouted Sasuke, Doden. Doryuden. A dragon's head formed from the sliding mud and shot mud missiles at Kakashi. What? Thought Kakashi, a combo. Sasuke released his jutsu and as the mud vanished, he noticed a poof of smoke where his sensei should have been. It had been a clone all along. What? How could he? He never had the time to do a cage bunshin, exclaimed Sasuke. Too bad, murmured Kakashi. Sasuke felt his body freeze, the result of a technique most Anbu members knew. It was a paralyzing technique that froze the body. He knew what would come next. Doden. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Once again, Sasuke felt his feet get pulled underground and he stared angrily up at his sensei who smiled back. Nice try, Sasuke, I take back what I said earlier. You're almost the exact same as Naruto. You know a lot of very advanced jutsu, and you seem to be a little different than I expected. Perhaps if you were a little smarter you would have gotten a bell. Sasuke narrowed his eyes in annoyance. Arg. Haha, you got beaten too. Sasuke, cried out Naruto joyfully. Okay, so are you two satisfied now? Can we get on to the final step then? Kyuubi's voice was one of irritation and annoyance. Yeah, sure, I'm just going to look inside these boxes, said Naruto. Time to chow down, said Naruto aloud, reaching for a box. Brat, I said no, I swear if you touch that box, I will never teach you a jutsu again. Naruto's hand hesitated, and in that second he heard, "Hi there." Naruto froze, recognizing the voice. Oh dang, it's Kakashi. Look what you did now, Kyuubi, now I got caught. I was just joking, sensei. Nice try, replied Kakashi, though I'm impressed that you got away from that trap without setting the second one. Naruto smiled, though Kakashi didn't catch it. But, ignoring that, now we'll talk about your punishment. Kakashi-sensei, thought Naruto angrily. Meanwhile, Sasuke thought about how Kakashi had maintained his advantage throughout the whole match. Sasuke had a sinking suspicion he had used Sharingan. At the same time, he struggled to get free of the jutsu he was trapped in. Just a little more, he thought. A rustle in the bushes interrupted him, and Sakura ran out. She stopped upon seeing Sasuke. Huh? Sakura blinked and made an incomprehensible noise. She did it twice and then Sasuke asked, Sakura? His voice was uncertain, seeing as Sakura was looking horrified. Sasuke's just ahead in the ground and now he's speaking to me, she yelled and then fainted. Sasuke's sweat dropped, and that's one of my partners, he said with a sigh. Got it, he thought as he forcefully broke out of his trap. He went over to see if Sakura was okay. Wow, she looks so peaceful, thought Sasuke, as he bent over, blushing. He stopped in his thoughts. Wait, what am I thinking, he thought, shaking his head. He mentally slapped him and then gently shook Sakura awake. Sakura slowly awoke, and stared groggily up at Sasuke. Sasuke. She sat up and then stared straight at Sasuke, with a confused look. Sakura, you okay? Asked Sasuke. Sakura's eyes widened and she threw her arms around the Uchiha. Sasuke, you're okay, she yelled. Hey, cut it out, let go, stop, protested Sasuke, trying to pry her off. She eventually stopped, and Sasuke stood up. Come on, we have to hurry and get those bells before lunch. It doesn't leave us much time. What? Sasuke, you're still trying to get one of those bells. Sasuke nodded. A while ago, both Naruto and I managed to touch one. We're close. Sakura gasped. My, that's great, he managed to touch one. This sucks, I'll never be able to get one of those bells, which means Sasuke will pass and I won't. No, shouted inner Sakura, clutching her head. Sasuke, there's not that much time until noon. We probably don't stand a chance of getting a bell, maybe we should just try again next year. Sasuke growled fiercely and glared at her. Sasuke, what's wrong? Only losers take that mentality. That's why you're the only who hasn't managed to touch a bell. Maybe if you concentrated on this task instead of me, maybe, just maybe we would get one. Sakura gasped. To her it had sounded and felt like Sasuke was yelling in her face, despite the fact he spoke only above a whisper. I need to restore my clan, Sakura, and to do that, I must become stronger than my prey. If Kakashi-sensei can easily defeat me now, think about all the other ninjas in the world stronger than Kakashi. I wouldn't stand a chance. Sasuke, whispered Sakura, sadly. From the distance the timer suddenly went off. Kyuubi couldn't help but taunt them. Looks like you both lose the bet. That means extra training, ahahaha. Sasuke growled inwardly, not now, I wasted too much time with Sakura. Now we have to endure Kakashi's lecture. We were going to have to hear it anyway, stated Naruto. It's probably better if Kakashi says it than if we say it, it'll have a more lasting effect. The brat's right, agreed Kyuubi. Sasuke shrugged. Come on, Sakura, we have to go back to the sensei. Sakura sadly nodded. I'll never be as good as them, she sadly thought. 10 minutes later, Sasuke and Sakura both sat on either side of Naruto, who was tied to a post. All of their stomachs were growling. Sasuke and Naruto tried to not listen, knowing what was coming next. Taunted, Kakashi. Stomachs growling, I see. Too bad. And I've decided, I won't send any of you back to the academy. What? Asked Sakura. I pass. All I did was faint and fall over. Do you get points for that? Love wins out, cha-cha-cha. Inner Sakura. Yay, shouted Naruto excitedly. So that means we, as in all three of us, asked Sasuke. Yes, all three of you, said Kakashi with a wink. Sakura and Naruto continued to cheer. Kakashi's face then dramatically changed and darkened. All three of you will be dropped from the program permanently. Huh, exclaimed Sasuke. Duh, exclaimed Naruto. Why, asked Sakura. From his post, Naruto kicked out savagely, drop us from the program? That means we can never become shinobi? You said if we couldn't get the bells we would be sent back to the academy. You can't just change your mind and kick us out. Why would you do that? Kakashi smirked. Because, you don't think and act like shinobi. You act like little spoiled brats. Now, Sasuke. Sasuke stood up with a grunt and charge. Sasuke, cried out, Sakura. Kakashi had sat on top of Sasuke, immobilizing him and pointing a kunai at his head. You think it's all about you, don't you, Sasuke? Sasuke grunted, though he made no noise or movement. Sakura did all the talking for him. Let go of Sasuke right now. You can't step on him like he's some bug. She was silenced when a kunai hit the post right beside her. She gasped and slowly looked at it. Little girl, are you trying to disrespect the shinobi? You think it's all a game, don't you? And then you wonder why I don't send you back to the academy. Sakura gasped and looked away, embarrassed. She stammered. Why do you think we put you on squads? Did you ever consider that for one moment? Sakura looked confused. I don't know what you mean, she whispered. I mean, you never realized what this exercise was all about. Not even close. What it's about, asked Naruto. Yes, replied Kakashi, holding down a struggling Sasuke. That's what determines whether you pass or fail. Sakura looked embarrassed, but I wanted to ask you about that from the beginning. Kakashi sighed, TCH, use your head. 3 people on a squad, he said slowly, why do you think we would do that? Naruto and Sasuke exchanged a glance. How do you expect us to know why you put on squads? We didn't make the rules, complained Naruto. It's so basic, teamwork, said Kakashi, loudly. The 3 genin froze and stared at one another. Just teamwork, just working together, asked Sakura. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. It's too late now, but if all 3 had come at me, you might have been able to take a bell. Hee, Sasuke, snickered Naruto. Shut up, not yet, Baka, whispered Sasuke. What are you 2 talking about? Asked Kyuubi. No one answered him. Hey, answer me, brats, arg. Later, Fox, replied Sasuke. You better, threatened Kyuubi before being quiet again. Wait a minute, interrupted Sakura, thinking about the bells. You set it up with only 2 bells. If we had worked together, then only 2 of us could keep them, and that would lead to group arguments. We would break up. Exactly, replied Kakashi. I purposely pitted you against each other. I wanted to see if you could overcome that and put the squad ahead of yourselves. Basically, you would work together to get the bells as a group instead of competing with each other for lunch. Sakura looked crestfallen. If only she had realized that. A genin should have a natural feel for teamwork, but it never even crossed your mind. I'll tell you what I mean. Sakura. Sakura looked up surprised. You obsessed about Sasuke, who was gone, while Naruto was right in front of you and you wouldn't lift a finger to help him. Naruto, Sasuke, the 2 of you were so bent on showing off that you put your ego ahead of your brains and made careless mistakes. You also didn't even bother to put your talents together. All 3 genin looked down. Arrogance, ninja missions are carried out in teams of 3. Of course you need individual skills, but more importantly teamwork. Every shinobi understands this. When individuals place themselves ahead of the squad, this can lead to failure and death. For example, said Kakashi, pulling out 2 more kunai and holding it to Sasuke's throat. Sakura, kill Naruto now, or Sasuke dies. Sakura's mouth dropped wide open and she looked uncertain what to do. That's what happens on missions, said Kakashi, releasing Sasuke, finally. Oh boy, give me a heart attack will you, thought Sakura. The enemy takes a hostage, and you're forced to make an impossible decision and someone ends up dead, concluded Kakashi, standing up. On every mission, your life is on the line. Sasuke stood up, as Kakashi walked to the stone monument. Did you look at this stone, the names engraved on it? They are all ninja, who are honored as heroes in our village. Sasuke and Naruto exchanged a sad glance. Sakura noticed this and asked, what kind of heroes? Special heroes. Heroes that are, KIA. Sakura's face fell. Killed in action, she whispered. This is a memorial stone. The names of my closest friends are on this stone, said Kakashi, with no emotion. The three genin looked sadly at him. Oh, said Sakura. Alright, I'm going to give you one more chance, he said, coldly. But I'm going to make it much harder on you. You'll have 3 hours to get a bell. Eat lunch now to build up strength, but Naruto doesn't get anything. Naruto frowned. I don't like the way he said that, he thought. While Naruto growled in frustration, Kakashi said, it's your punishment for breaking the rules and eating by yourself. And, if anyone tries to feed him, that person automatically fails. Got it? I make the rules, and you follow them, he said coldly, before disappearing. Sasuke and Sakura both took up lunchboxes and began eating. Now, Kyuubi asked Naruto. Fine, go ahead, Sasuke. They both listened as Naruto's stomach growled in torment. Sasuke cleared his throat and raised his lunchbox to Naruto. Here, quickly eat some of mine. Sakura looked up from her meal. No, Sasuke, you can't do that. You heard what the sensei said. Sasuke's eyes narrowed at her. Sakura, we need to get those bells as a team. Kakashi's gone, so now's our chance to help Naruto get back his energy. Think of it like this. If Naruto is weak, then he won't be able to be as effective as if he were feeling better. Sakura looked uncertain. Sasuke, she thought to herself, looking at her food. She remembered her vow earlier to be nicer to Naruto. Wait, Naruto, eat my food instead. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged a very brief glance, one full of respect. What are you doing, Sakura? Asked Naruto. Here, take it. You and Sasuke need to be at full strength if we hope to pass. Naruto nearly cried. But isn't that your lunch? I'm on a diet, and, well, arg, just take it. Okay, thanks. Don't thank me, just take it. You'll have to feed me, said Naruto, my hands are tied. Sakura's face fell. You've got to be kidding me, she said. Just do it, Sakura, hurry, urged Sasuke, who looked in the exact direction he knew Kakashi was in. Alright, she said reluctantly, this is a one-time only thing. She slowly fed Naruto a rice ball and he happily consumed it. Here he comes, brats. Let's hope he's as kind as last time. Smoke suddenly filled the area, and Kakashi's face surprised the three genin, mostly Sakura. You, he said, threateningly. Sakura covered her eyes in fear. You broke the rules. I hope you're ready for your punishment. Kakashi did an unfamiliar hand sign and then said, any last words? Naruto stared defiantly into Kakashi's eyes. Yeah, you said the three of us are a team. And if we're going to get those bells it's going to be together as a team, and if we fail, we're going to fail as a team. That's right, we're all in the same squad, so we're in this together, that's why we fed Naruto. Because the only way we're going to get those bells are if he's in top shape, protested Sasuke. That's right, we're a team, we stick together, shouted Sakura. The three of us are one, stated Naruto, proudly. Kakashi walked closer, each step slower and slower to build up the tension. The three of you are one, that's your excuse? Kakashi paused, and for a moment Sasuke and Naruto were really afraid. Then he smiled. You pass, said Kakashi, smiling. Sakura blinked. Huh, she asked. You pass, said Kakashi. What do you mean? Asked Sakura. How did we pass? Kakashi gave them a true wink this time. You're the first squad that ever passed. The others did exactly as I told them to, and fell into every trap. They couldn't think for themselves. Remember, a ninja must see through deception, quoted Kakashi from a ninja scroll. In the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum. That's true, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Naruto and Sasuke grinned at each other, while Sakura giggled. The exercise is over, everyone passes. Team 7 will have their first mission tomorrow, stated Kakashi with his thumbs up. Yes, shouted Sakura, twirling. Oh, yes, and before I forget, good job Naruto, Sasuke for managing to take the bells. All three genin gasped. Sensei, what do you mean? Asked Sakura. Kakashi laughed softly. You can come out Sasuke, Naruto. I know where you are. The Naruto and Sasuke by Sakura disappeared in poof of smoke and the real ones stepped from behind a tree, the bells dangling from their fingers. Sakura's eyes bulged from their sockets. What? When did you two get over there? Asked Sakura. Ah, sensei, when did you find out? Kakashi appeared to think. Why, shortly after I caught you trying to steal the food. I was suspicious after both of you took the bells from and switched them with fake ones, but I was certain when I detected a communication between you two from right now. You both just keep surprising me today, so we're all going to have a talk later. I want to be able to understand something that's been bothering me, and you two will explain it. Sakura, you might as well hear it as well because of what they just did for you. Huh, what did they do? Asked Sakura. They helped you learn the vital importance of teamwork. I understand now what you guys did, good job. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei, grinned Naruto. As this exchange went on, Sakura looked from her teammates back to Kakashi. Somebody explain what's going on, she yelled. Everyone laughed. You see, Sakura, Sasuke and I already knew the exercise had something to do with teamwork, but we also knew you didn't, so we needed you to learn the lesson the hard way. Sorry about that. Sakura glared at them both. You mean I? She fell silent, realizing she didn't deserve to make fun of them. In the meantime, Naruto and I stole the bells, while our cage bunchins distracted him with our jutsus, stated Sasuke matter of fact. They got the bells through teamwork, and wanted you to understand its importance, said Kakashi. Think, if we had not done this exercise, would you have helped Naruto if you were to ever ask for it? Sakura paused. The honest answer would have been no, but Sakura didn't say that. Right. So while you learned teamwork, Naruto and Sasuke learned arrogance doesn't pay off. They learned even though they know great techniques it'll never work against me, ha 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 ha. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged a darkened glance. A challenge had just been set out. Of course, what do you expect? How can I ninja who falls for the easiest traps, even hope of matching my skills? Sakura, Kyuubi, and Sasuke took the opportunity to laugh at Naruto, who turned red. Whatever, it must happen to everyone sometimes. The others coughed. Kakashi laughed. Let's go home. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.